West, the home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the ultra-fast, bumpy, temporary circuit at Burke Lake Frank Airport for more up-tempo action from round 6 of the Champ Car World Series.
Since 1982, a summer chorus of the sounds of Champ Car has reverberated off the skyline of Cleveland. 24 times the checkers have fallen here, saluting drivers who carry names representing the best in the sport. From Rahal to Unser, from Andretti to Sullivan, from Fittipaldi to Villeneuve, all have competed here. All have thrilled the crowds with their skill, their commitment, their daring to. Today, for the 25th time, the field will take the green. Today, Cleveland will celebrate a quarter century of racing excellence.
Concentrate on your mark. Go, 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 go. Green, green, green.
Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series, powered by Ford. The sights, the sounds, the exhilaration of a 185-mile-an-hour festival of speed. This is A.J. Allmendinger, the latest winner in the 2006 Champ Car World Series, the first American in more than 2 years to reach the top step of a Champ Car podium. In the course of just 1 week, A.J. was fired from his Roost Sport ride. He became engaged to the lovely Lynn Kushnarenko. He was then hired by Forsyth Championship Racing, and he became the champion of the Grand Prix of Portland in front of his mom, his bride-to-be, and his dad on Father's Day. Talk about a whirlwind of activity in just 7 days.
It certainly has been just an incredible fairy tale story for A.J. Allmendinger. From the ultimate personal low of being fired to the high of becoming engaged, and then that stunning victory in Portland.
A week ago, my cell phone bill was getting ran up because I didn't have a job and I was looking for one, and now my cell phone bill has been run up because of all the interviews. So I'll take paying for the second one more than the first one. So, but no, it's been absolutely amazing. Don't know if I truly believe it still, but I think, sadly enough, probably the best moment is getting here at the racetrack and seeing that little Champ Car win sticker finally on the car to make it know that it actually happened. So my confidence now is I know that I can win a race, and I've always said that if I win one, I think they'll come in bunches. As I crossed the finish line, as I came on the front straightaway, it was, okay, the gearbox is fine down the straightaway. I'm going to get to the finish line. All I could think about, oh, man, I've never done donuts before. So how do I do these? So I got there, parked it for a second, was reaching down. Okay, I knew the brake bias. I always watched Zanardi do his donuts, so I always had the front tires stuck to the ground. Got it going, and it's like, all right, this is going pretty good. Got about 3 or 4 revolutions in there. Then I realized, how long do I do this for? And I'm looking and watching the Bridgestone tires shred apart, rubber flying. I thought to myself, I might stop now, because if my tire explodes and rips the rear wing off the car, Jerry might be mad about that.
Great stuff. That was a wonderful day for A.J. Allmendinger. And now, here we are in Cleveland for round 6 of the Champ Car World Series. Hello, I'm Jeremy Shaw, joined once again by Atlantic driver James Hinchcliffe. And what an amazing story for A.J.
It really has been a great initiation into the Forsyth Champ Car team. You know, he comes there with his first race. He gets a pole on Friday, outside pole, starting spot for the race, grabs the first win, comes here for his second race and grabs pole, and looking very well to take his second win in only 2 starts for the team.
It's just it's a wonderful story. It just is, and it's great for American racing as well. Here we are, a young American who is delivering the goods, and just amazing, having been fired less than 7 days earlier, and here he is doing a super job this weekend in Cleveland. He was very quick on Friday, second quickest to Bourdais, and he comes back on Saturday with a stunning lap in qualifying, a new track record for A.J. Allmendinger, the second pole of his career.
This is awesome. I could have never expected this in the first 2 weeks so far, and my engineer Michael Cannon is the absolute man right now, because we just keep picking away at it, and this morning's practice we were okay, and qualifying the car was amazing. Now we just got to go try to win the race tomorrow, because it was so much fun last week in Portland doing it. We should try to do it again.
So it was a great week for AJ, but Here he is, the second Bridgestone Pole Award of his career in the Champ Cars and his first for Forsyth Racing. But for his teammate Paul Tracy, not quite so good, James.
No, Tracy's had a lot of problems all weekend, as you see here, him clipping the wall in the 10-minute practice before qualifying. Had to switch to his backup car. You see him there carrying his seat. They managed to get that car on track, and he still put it on the inside of row 3 for the 5th starting position today.
He's feeling the pressure, isn't he? But he knows he's got a good car. I was talking to him yesterday before qualifying. He couldn't wait for qualifying to get started because he knew he had a shot to get the pole. Trying a bit too hard, though, huh?
Yeah, well, he's always run well here at Cleveland, but he's definitely feeling the pressure of a younger teammate, one who was his protege for a few years. He's come up to Champ Car, now he's his teammate, and he's winning races. Paul really needs to step it up, and he is feeling that pressure.
Yes, he does indeed. And it's a busy day on Friday. It's a tough track this in Cleveland. On Friday morning, the weather conditions were really, really treacherous, and we saw all sorts of people. We saw experienced drivers like Paul Tracy, AJ Allmendinger off the road, and particularly though for the rookies, James, very difficult to learn this track in those conditions.
Cleveland's a tough track in the dry, let alone in the wet, so these guys have to learn the track in the wet initially and then go for their first dry session later. We see Dan Clark get a little bit sideways here, just clips the wall, doesn't do too much damage, so they lost a little bit of time. Tough track to learn, but these guys are just having to learn it the hard way.
Yeah, Dan didn't do too much damage to the car, but he did to the engine. He filled it up with water. They had to change that engine prior to qualifying. They put a fresh one in there, and then they had to change it again because there was an oil leak. So it's been a busy time for him. Here are the point standings coming into this weekend. Sebastian Bourdais, he's won 4 of the first 5 races of the season, but Justin Wilson has been second, I should say, on 4 occasions as well. So still within 30 points. AJ Allmendinger there, he's moved his way up to 3rd place despite being knocked out on the first lap of the first race in Long Beach. Andrew Rainter there still doing a stunning job in 4th. Look at that, a 4-driver tie for 5th place coming in here.
This is going to be very interesting because you see 4 drivers, as you say, tied for 5th place rather, and it's going to look very different when we leave Cleveland. So some guy who's in 5th, you know, if he finishes last out of these 4 drivers, he's going to find himself 9th in the points, leaving here at best.
Yeah, looking down the order there, all the rookies tied together as well. Dan Clark, a brilliant run to take the 6th place last week and move himself to the top of the point standings here. But for Justin Wilson, yeah, he's 2nd coming in the points here, and he's had a pretty good season by most standards. 4 second place finishes and a 5th out of 5 races. Not bad going at all. But I asked Justin, was he getting frustrated by finishing 2nd on all these occasions? And he told me yes, that he was. But here he is. He was 2nd in Monterey, and it's just doing everything he can to beat Sebastian Bourdais, but it's not quite getting there yet.
Always a bridesmaid, never the bride, if you will. He's finished 2nd 4 times, as you say. He really wanted to be the first guy to take Sebastian off his perch this year. Unfortunately, it was his old teammate, AJ Allmendinger, who managed to do that. But you know Justin's going to be trying very, very hard to get that first win this season, starting on the inside of the 2nd row.
It was a very good run in Milwaukee. Here he's battling with his teammate AJ Allmendinger at that stage, and in Portland as well. It was his former teammate, of course, AJ Allmendinger, who beat him to the win there. That must have been very frustrating for Justin. But, you know, as again, 4 second place finishes, not bad at all. And he's got to be pleased with it, but I asked him whether he was getting frustrated. So we couldn't get that interview with Justin, I'm afraid, but here is his car on the grid. He will start on the 2nd row of the grid here this weekend. A big crowd on hand. They've made a lot of alterations to the facilities here in Cleveland. It's the same track surface here and the same layout. And James, it's a wonderful place to go racing here. As you can see, it's a permanent airport for 362 days of the year. Very fast, average speed here about 135 miles an hour. A couple of good overtaking places and several good real rhythm sections to this racetrack, but it is very high speed, and it always creates some fantastic racing. And the crowd is lined up behind the pits, or in front of the pits now, because they've changed that situation around this weekend. So super views for the crowd. And James, take us on an onboard lap with Alex Tagliani.
Well, here we are with Alex in the Team Walker car, going through the first corner just there, up through the gears, all the way down for 2nd for that last corner. Going up through the gears, they're going to reach 170 miles an hour down through this 3-4 complex. It's really important to carry speed in, but get a good run out of here. Alex getting a little bit of oversteer there. A run down this straightaway is really important. You're back up to 165 miles an hour before you're back on the brakes again. It's a left-right sequence through this corner. corner, back to power, float a lot of speed in. Heading into turn 7 now, really bumpy section of the racetrack. Watch his hands as he fights it on the brakes, down a gear, through corner 8. This is the only wall on the track to hit, and sadly enough, a lot of drivers seem to find it. It's one of the slickest corners on the racetrack. Up through the gears, 180 miles an hour, slam on the anchors, only down 2 gears, 5th gear, quick right, left chicane onto the front straight, and that is a lap here at the Cleveland Burke Lakefront Airport circuit.
There he is across the start-finish line, and that leads down to turn 1. It's a huge wide corner. It's the main runway here at Burke Lakefront Airport. As you can see, just a few hundred yards from downtown Cleveland, right on the shores of Lake Erie. And with that huge wide front straight, you can see there they've moved the pits themselves to the other side of the track there, so the fans have a much better view of the action. The new organisers here, the race promoter now is Mike Lanigan from MyJack, done a fabulous job, and it really does make a much better vantage point for the fans. You can see that good view of that main straightaway leading down into turn 1, but it's always a recipe for disaster here. It goes from hugely wide to hugely narrow, James.
Yeah, as you can see, cars 4, 5, 6 wide, all funneling down into the first corner. Always a scene of accidents here for the Champ Car race.
And the officials this weekend have tried to alleviate the situation somewhat. They put some cones down the inside of the track to move it from 100 feet wide to 60 feet wide. Now, you've raced 2 Atlantic races here this weekend, James. Has it made a difference?
Yeah, we had a doubleheader here this weekend. In both races, we managed to get, I think, every car through corner 1 without incident. So the idea is to not let the car spread out as wide, so the funnel effect into corner 1 isn't as much. They've tried it in Champ Car in the past, not always with as much success as we had in Atlantic, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here this weekend. Yeah,
there were 2 30-car Formula 4 2000 races this weekend as well, and they all made it through turn 1 as well. So now we'll see whether the big boys can do the same. It's going to be very, very interesting, and it's a great racetrack there because the fans are close up here. They get a full view, as you can see there, a view of the entire racetrack here. It's just over 2 miles around, but just really a fun place to go racing. And as we heard earlier on, a lot of history here in Cleveland. We get to the starting grid for this afternoon's race. This is the 25th race here in Cleveland, and the second Bridgestone Pole Award of his young career. AJ Allmendinger, a stunning effort. Sebastian Bourdais, quickest on Friday, has to make do with the outside of the front row. Justin Wilson, he will start on row 2 alongside Oriol Servio. A big jump for PKV Racing after a disaster in Portland.
Paul Tracy on the inside of row 3 despite that that crash just before qualifying rather, and Nelson Philippe, a great run in the CT HVM car. Then we go down to Bruno Junqueira on the inside of the 4th row, not able to match the pace of his teammate, and Alex Tagliani, who's finished in the top 5 3 of the last 4 years here in Cleveland.
So Will Power is behind the 8 ball, he feels, as a result of that wet practice on Friday morning, but there's still a good job to start on row 6, 5 of the grid alongside Cristiano Damada. Dan Clark is there on row 7 with Andrew Ranger, runs row 6 with Andrew Ranger, who still stands 4th in the points.
Charles Wolfsman, who won both Atlantic races last year here in Cleveland, looking for a good result, and a good strong run from Catherine Legg in the PKV racing car. We go on to the 8th row, we got Nicky Pastorelli for Rocket Sports Racing, and number 11, Jan Halen in the Dale Coyne racing machine.
The final row of the grid, the second Adele Coyne cars for Mario Dominguez and Tonis Kazimets, who had a good run here last year in the Atlantics, a 2nd and a 4th place finish and a pole. He will start last in his 2nd Champ Car start for the Rocket Sports team. For Mario Dominguez, he starts on the back row as a result of this shunt yesterday morning. If you look very carefully, the front wing fell off that car as he went into turn 8. 84 G's that impact with the wall there in turn 8. A massive shunt, destroyed the front of the car. And for the 2nd time in 3 races, the Dale Coyne Racing crew has had to work all night to prepare their backup car, James.
Yeah, that clip really doesn't do that crash justice. That was a really hard hit. Mario took quite a lick in there, but he bounced back. They weren't able to get the car back in time for qualifying, so that's why he's starting from the 17th position.
Yeah, it's a shame because he was thrilled with the way that car was handling. We're going to bring some onboard actions for you, lots of onboard action this afternoon for you. This is a CDW car of Justin Wilson with the Roo Sport team. He'll start on row 2. Alex Tagliani for Team Australia back on row 4 of the grid in car number 50. He's going to bring us some great action as well, and there's a super suspension camera on that car as well. It's going to be some really good vantage points, we believe. And also on towards the back of the grid, but qualifying on row 7 of the grid, Charles Waltzman in the MyJack car. He's had some success here in the past. As you said, James, he's won a couple of Atlantic races here, and he had a problem yesterday morning in the practice session. They had an engine problem in that car after he went off the road, but he missed the part of the qualifying session, but came back strongly. Charles Waltzman looking for a strong run here in Cleveland this afternoon. We're on the final pace lap here in Cleveland, getting ready for the start of round 6 of Bridgestone Presents the Champ Car World Series, powered by Ford. There is the Cleveland downtown in the background. Tremendous views here for the fans. They're all lined up there on the south end of the racetrack. Over behind the camera here is Lake Erie behind us, but we're all eyes now focused as the 18-car field makes its way around the east end of the racetrack and getting ready for a start. And we eagerly anticipate this run down to turn 1. We've seen all the support series make it through turn 1 cleanly. Can the Champ Car guys do it as well? On the front row then, AJ Allmendinger and Sebastian Bourdais, Justin Wilson and Oriol Servia on row 2, and Paul Tracy on row 3. Watch out for PT, huh?
PT's always one to move up at the start of a race. He did it in Portland before he made it from 10th to 5th before the race kind of fell apart for him. So look for him to move up on the inside of this very interesting turn 1.
Now the race director has told all the cars to line up, then the green will be thrown. There is the green flag, and already is Charles Walton. I think that was on the outside there. Down to the inside goes Justin Wilson, trying to sneak past, but round the outside of everybody goes Bruno Junqueira.
Oh my God! Oh, another car off in the grass. Several cars off in the grass. PT being sandwiched in the middle there. We got a car around.
Andrew Ranger spins around, so he got lost. He was the one who lost out on that shuffle on the exit of the corner. At least they all made it to the apex. Oh no!
Paul, that's Paul Tracy. Oh, he keeps it going. He didn't beach the car, but there's definite damage to that car.
There is to at least one of those rear wheels. I think there is damage to the rear suspension on
and Sebastian Bourdais off, it looks like.
So, boy, this has been a very straight start. They seem to get through that corner pretty cleanly, but apparently not the case. There is Andrew Ranger. Clearly, he has lost the power on that engine. Here comes the Champ Car safety car team, and the pace car has been scrambled as well. Paddy Hughes driving the pace car. Wow, look at this.
Oh, look at that.
That's PT on top and
on
over
top of
Bourdais.
Not the first time those two have come together, certainly. And we saw as PT exited corner 1, he was being sandwiched in between 2 cars. Apparently, one of them Bourdais. Maybe Bourdais didn't realize he was there. Came across
out in the grass.
And Bourdais, I do not think that car will get back going this afternoon, Jeff.
Wow, that is a disaster for Newman Haas Racing. Sebastian Bourdais, he was disappointed not to claim the pole position. He was disappointed last year.
And Allmendinger pits.
That's it, second of the Forsyth cars. Here's again a replay of the start. You can see that Paul Tracy had to dodge to miss that cone on the inside, and here he is. They seem to be lined up. Well, there's Bruno Junqueira going all the way around the outside, and look at those two there. That is, I think that was, you could see there, it's Oriol Servia, I think, and Paul Tracy.
He's the one who comes back on.
And there were 3 cars side by side. There is AJ. AJ is coming into the pit lane. There were 3 abreast coming off turn 1. Here's a look from the onboard Alex Sagliani. Let's watch him. The cone goes flying from Oriol Servia. He gets pushed up by
cars.
Yeah.
Oh, and then contact there as he pushes one of the Rocket Sports cars wide.
I think it was Andrew Ranger who spun off there to the outside. Here is AJ Allmendinger on pit lane.
And believe it or not, both of the Forsyth cars, we saw what happened to Paul Tracy, but look behind. AJ Allmendinger had to have a new nose cone replaced, came in with front wing damage. Now they're going to try to work on Paul Tracy's car, but certainly with the height that car took, you would think that there might be more damage.
Wow.
I don't understand how AJ had front wing damage when he was in front of all that melee. I'm not quite sure what happened there. As we see Cristiano now coasting into the pits. I don't know.
Yeah, he's coming in very slowly indeed. And it's been a disastrous weekend for Cristiano Damata. He last year came here on the back of a win at Portland for the BKV racing team. He qualified on the front row. He led the first 20-odd laps and then was involved in an accident with a back marker, took him out of contention. Let's have a look here again at the replay. This is going down into turn 1 because the Andrew Ranger flying down the outside and coming off the corner, he was the outside of the sandwich there with Paul Tracy and a couple of others. And there's a little bit farther up the racetrack that I think it was Oriol Servia on the inside of the racetrack, Paul Tracy in the middle, and Sebastian Bourdais on the outside got together. Let's have a look at that as they come off turn 1, accelerating here up to about they're probably doing 120. You can see it just happened there on the corner of the screen. Paul Tracy was in the middle and just getting squeezed.
Yeah, it was a really unfortunate situation for Paul to be in, as we see him get airborne right there up and over top of Sebastian. That is a scary moment. Had they been going any faster, there's a good chance Paul's car could have gone right up and over. but I feel like we're missing something else to the front of the grid that caused AJ to have front wing damage. He seemed to get out of turn 1. He was side by side with Bruno there, but it looked like he got out ahead cleanly, so it must have been something later in the lap that caused a little bit of damage there.
You're right, you can see the cone going flying here on board with Alex Tagliani. I think that was Nelson Philippe there who pushed him around to the outside, and Andrew Reindeer was already out there, so he had even less room to go, and then they're picking their way through the debris of that incident between Sebastian Bourdais and Paul Tracy. I certainly don't think we can blame either of those two. It's really just one of those things. I'm sure neither of them knew that there were 3 abreast, or PT probably did, and he's not going to lift there, is he?
You know, I think we actually have to make a correction here. We said it looked like Bruno going around the outside of turn 1, but apparently it was Oriol Servia from his 4th row starting spot. He managed to go around the outside of AJ Allmendinger heading into corner 1, and with AJ pitting for damage, that puts Oriol in the lead of this race.
You're right. My fault entirely there. My apologies for that complete misidentification. Too many red and white cars in this field at the moment, but still no excuse. I've been watching them for 5 races now. Should have known better. But you're right. It's Oriol Servia who's had a fabulous beginning to this weekend. He had just a disaster. There is a safety car team and attending to Sebastian Bourdais. And as we saw, Paul Tracy's car vaulted over the top, right over the top of Sebastian Bourdais' car, and you can see the car kind of bouncing as it went across the top of Bourdais there. So we've got to hope that Sebastian is going to be okay. There is the Champ Car safety car team is working on Sebastian Bourdais. They're going to take every precaution before they get him out of the car. And here is Cristiano De Matta on pit lane also.
Cristiano getting worked on by the Rousport crew. It doesn't look like they have much faith in that car getting back out. There doesn't seem to be any frantic repairs going on.
No activity at all. It's been a disastrous day for Cristiano. As I said, he was leading this race 1 year ago until he had the incident with Marcus Marshall, where after about 20-odd laps of the motor race, that put him out of contention. This weekend, though, he's really been struggling. He qualified 10th, and that is the worst starting position for a Rousport car since, coincidentally, here 1 year ago, where Justin Wilson crashed in qualifying and started way back in 16th. Every race since then, both of the Rousport cars have been well inside the top 10, so it's been a particularly difficult weekend for Cristiano, and particularly with his teammate Justin Wilson qualifying on the 2nd row of the grid. But our thoughts now, of course, with Sebastian Bourdais. We're here. He is reported as awake and alert, but they're just going to take every precaution. It's a very scary incident for him to have Bourdais' car clattering over the top of him there.
Tracy's car, yes. No, whenever a car goes over top of you like that, of course, there's always the concerns of head and neck injury, so they're going to take absolutely every precaution to try and get Sebastian out of that car, make sure everything's all right before they take any chances of releasing him. So you see them bringing a backboard up to the car there. We're hoping that this is just for precautionary measures and not because there seems to be any apparent damage to Sebastian himself.
And we're hearing code 3, which is generally a good sign that there's not too much injury to the driver, but as you say, they're going to be just very, very careful. The drivers, of course, they have to wear the HANS device, the head and neck support device. There's a yoke, a carbon fiber yoke that goes around the driver's neck and over his shoulder blades, and it attaches to the helmet to that, and a fantastic safety feature that is mandatory not only in the Champ Car World Series but also in the Atlantic Series as well.
Atlantic Series and many other series across the globe, open wheel, closed wheel, it doesn't really matter. The HANS device was a remarkable invention, and it's definitely saved a lot of drivers from very serious injury in the past. As we see this Simple Green safety team still working hard on Sebastian Bourdais there. It looks like they've got him out of the car now onto the backboard.
And again, that's just standard procedure here. If there's any prospect whatsoever of any injury to the driver's back or neck or pretty much anything, in actual fact, they are going to get him out on the backboard. We've heard that he has been chattering to the doctors, and they're just going to take him on the backboard, put him into the ambulance, check him over here at the Champ Car Medical Unit, which is a full service facility, if you like. Just they've got every piece of technology you could possibly want. It's really a fully operating hospital right here on the track surface, on the track side, I should say. And if they need, they will take him on to a local hospital as well after that. But we hope that won't be the case. But certainly a great shame for Sebastian Bourdais. He's just been stunning this season in a McDonald's car. He's coming in this year looking to become the first driver since Ted Horn in 1946 through 48 to win 3 consecutive Champ Car titles. And I think it's fair to say when Ted Horn achieved that back in the 40s and in the immediate post-war years, the series was not nearly as competitive as it is right now. So we're going to hope that Sebastian is going to be okay. No word specifically from the pits. He's already, of course, won 4 races this season, hold a 30-point lead in the championship coming into this weekend in Cleveland for round 6 of the Champ Car World Series. So still under yellow here in Cleveland on the Burke Lakefront Airport. We've got 4 laps officially in the books. Oriol Servia is shown as the race leader from Justin Wilson. Will Power up into 3rd place ahead of Dan Clark, Nicky Pastorelli.
McDonald's pit just standing around, not breaking down crying, but just trying to find out what's happening. Let's send it over to Jan Beekes.
And Cristiano D'Amato, you notice, still has the helmet on. He's out of the car. Cristiano, you hope to get back in, but first of all, what happened out there from your perspective?
I just spun trying to avoid, I think, a Catherine leg going into 3. When I spun the car around and I floored it, the throttle cable actually broke, so they're trying to change it, and we'll see if it's a quick change, if we're going to be able to go back out, or depending what part of the throttle cable is broken.
Up in front where we saw some of the heavy contact, could you see any of that at all, or was there a dust cloud?
It was just a lot of dust. I just saw pieces. I was just trying to find my way through all the pieces and all the broken pieces of car in the track.
All right, hope you get back out there. Thank you.
Thanks to Cameron Steele and Jan Beekes in the pits here in Cleveland. We can see the both of the Forsyth cars on pit lane once again. Certainly for AJ, just going to top up that car with fuel, send him on his way. It's basically a 3 pit stop race here this afternoon, doing the same for PT. Did he make some adjustments on that car as well, James? Did you see?
I think they were just investigating the right rear. Apparently there was potential damage there, so they wanted to check that out when he came in. AJ, of course, is coming in to top off. Bruno also had to come into the pits, Bruno Junqueira, to replace a rear wing. His rear wing was knocked off somewhere again in that first lap. Another shot that we didn't necessarily see, but another incident taking place that lost him his rear wing.
Yeah, clearly incidents all around the racetrack, because we heard Cristiano saying that Catherine got together with somebody going into turn 3, which was after that incident with Tracy and Bourdais, etc. So all sorts of incidents here on the opening lap in Cleveland. So Alex Tagliani, well, he got going again, and we've really only lost 2 cars, we believe. Just Bourdais, of course, he's still being extracted. He has been extracted from that car. He's been taken to the infield medical center. Cristiano D'Amato, he is still in pit lane as well, trying to work on the throttle cable on his car. Andrew Ranger and we believe Bruno Junqueira also are shown as 1 lap down at this stage. No, there goes, yeah, I think Bruno is 1 lap down as well, actually. But Oriol Servia still leads this motor race with a fantastic, good opening corner for him. He didn't do anything silly. Went round the outside, clean move, and then clearly somewhere around later on in the lap we didn't see it because of that other fracas going on there in turn 1. But he did get around AJ Allmendinger. Clearly there was some contact there as well, because we saw AJ Allmendinger into the pits at the end of that first lap. But AJ is still running again. We'll run down the order for you. It's Servia, Wilson, Will Power in 3rd place for Team Australia. Fellow rookie Dan Clark in 4th, and other rookies behind him. Nicky Pastorelli all the way up into 5th place. Jan Halen, Catherine Legg, Alex Tagliani, Charles Waltzman, Nelson Philippe shown in 10th, ahead of AJ Allmendinger, Paul Tracy, Mario Dominguez, and Tonis Kazimierz. And all those last 4 or 5, Philippe, Allmendinger, Tracy, Dominguez, and Kazimierz have all been into the pits as a result of whatever during this lengthy caution period. And then behind them we're showing Bruno Junqueira and Andrew Ranger 1 lap down.
Well, it's a bizarre running order right now with, apart from Kazimierz, all the rookies in the top 10 right now, of course, with Will Power, Dan Clark, and Nicky Pastorelli in the 5th place, Ian Halen in 6th. It's very interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out when we go back to green flag racing.
And particularly with AJ Allmendinger and Paul Tracy at the back, and AJ and PT also, they're going to be nose to tail on the road as well. And, you know, PT, what's he going to do? Because AJ has been absolutely stunning this weekend, as he was in Cleveland. Let's talk about the differences in the track in Portland and the track here in Cleveland. Portland is a track that PT has never felt comfortable. He's never gone particularly well there. The best finish he's had is a 2nd place. Here in Cleveland, by contrast, is a track he absolutely loves. He always goes well here, does PT. He's got a whole bunch of good finishes, including a couple of wins here.
And again, both both Forsyth cars coming into the pits, topping off with fuel. Strategic move by these boys. They're pretty much near the end of the lead lap right now. They'll come in and top off.
On board here, the helmet cam with Steve Moore, the crew chief on Paul Tracy's car. He'll be changing.
And that is correct. They're coming in to get more fuel for both the two team cars. Now the contact for A.J. Allmendinger was from our current leader, Oriol Servia. A quick chassis adjustment already. The two teammates are racing on the exit of pit road after getting some fuel.
Interesting.
Fabulous stuff.
Interesting little development there with PT getting out ahead of AJ there. I don't know how well that's going to sit with AJ.
Not very well, I fancy, but it might make things a little bit easier. So settle that argument at least for now. But Steve Moore there, the Kiwi crew chief for Paul Tracy, giving him some fabulous pictures there of him, getting the wave go PT, and he just, as you say, beat AJ out of the pit lane. And very interesting indeed. Now we're lap 8 into this race. I was talking to a couple of the engineers over lunch just an hour or so ago, and they were saying if we go to from about lap 8 is about the earliest you can get to the end of the race without having to do more than 3 pit stops. So that's you're going to have to keep an eye on the fuel consumption as this race goes along.
Before we go to green quickly, Neil, tell me, can this get you now to a 2-stop race by coming in and picking up fuel?
Right now it's a little bit early to tell. We need to do some laps to see what kind of mileage we're getting. It's a slim possibility, but we'll have to see.
Concerned about damage on Paul's car after that big air time?
Not really, no. I mean, obviously it was up in the air and maybe some underbody damage. We'll give it a few laps and see how the handling is. Hopefully it's okay, but we didn't see anything obvious going on.
All right, thank you. And for those of you, if you saw the blonde hair there, he lost a bet with AJ and the crew to bleach his hair if AJ won. If PT wins today, if Paul Tracy wins, he's going to shave it.
That's Jon Beekes there with Neil Mickelwright, the Vice President of Operations for Forsyth Championship Racing. There's been a heck of a lot going on in that team, and interesting that he's not concerned about any damage to PT's car despite that wild ride. Here's again another vantage point of that incident down in turn 1, and we'll see maybe coming out of the corner. He just says that the dust beginning to fly there as the cars go off the road. Andrew Ranger in particular, and look to the extreme right-hand side of the screen. We can see 3 cars perhaps getting together, and then we'll watch closely. There they are, just behind the first 2 or 3. There goes PT's car, is launched right over the top. And certainly it's Bruno Junqueira on the inside. He's not leaving much room for those guys, is he?
Well, that's how Bruno lost his rear wing now. We can finally figure out who exactly was involved in that. It was the 2 Newman Haas cars and Paul. And like you say, I mean, he comes down pretty hard. Right? Like that right rear took quite a beating, as you can see right there. Deep beat of the tire. I would be surprised if there was no suspension damage to that car whatsoever. I know Neil was talking about Bruno's wing flying off through the air there. I know Neil was talking about possible underbody damage, but it would be surprising if there was no suspension damage whatsoever on that number 3 Forsyth car.
We're hearing great news from the garage area is that Sebastian Bourdais is awake and alert. He's been taken to a hospital for a precautionary CT scan. So that's certainly very good news indeed. We're going back to green this time around. Here's again this replay of that initial start down in turn 1 from on board with Alex Tagliani, and just all sorts of action down there in turn 1. The green flag is going to come out next time around, but that was a huge impact there. And I go back now to looking again at Bruno Junqueira. He didn't leave any room for those guys. There's plenty of room on the inside of the racetrack there, isn't there? Yeah, here we go. We're back to green. We'll come back that later on. Jeepers, there's another spinner. That is Charles Walton. I think they're spinning coming out of turn 10. Again, the tyres, of course, are stone cold now. They've been running around behind the pace car for the better part of 10 laps. So the tyres are stone cold. There's Nicky Pastorelli and Jan Halen driving down the inside, battling for for 5th place going into turn 3.
And if that car is stalled, which it appears to be, that should bring out the yellow. And here we go. Yes, another full course caution on the track. Now, this is actually really good news for the cars that came in to top off, mainly the 2 Forsyth cars. Both came in to top off, and with this extra yellow flag, although this will be a short one because Charles, who just gets a little bit loose on the exit into the grass and spins around back on the track. Great job from everyone to avoid Charles there. This should allow the people who did come into pit the extra few laps of yellow they needed to save the fuel they needed to try and make this on only 2 stops. Now we saw Nelson Philippe also pit just before we went green to top off. Oh, just
was really contact there from Paul Tracy. He was awfully close. He was on board with Charles Wattsman coming out of the chicane. You can see a bit of a wiggle coming through there. I don't know whether there's any help or not from Paul Tracy. There presumably wasn't. I think it was probably just a cold tyre wiggle there coming off that corner. You're going through there at about 110 miles an hour, so it's a pretty quick corner. And particularly when the tyres are cold, you can easily run out of room there on the exit. The car just understeers wide. He got on the grass. He tried to hold it on the throttle there, and it didn't quite pay off.
Yeah, he got back on the power with those cold
a bit
tires.
of chaos going on around here, and right now I'm with the owner of PKV Racing, Jimmy Vassar, and you guys are leading your first laps of the year with Oriol Servia. Quite an accomplishment, and I know as a team owner it's got to be a proud moment.
Well, it's early days yet in the race. Obviously proud to lead. It's best to lead, but we're trying to do a good job here for Gulfstream and Bell Micro. I think we're going green here, but we all hope that Sebastian's doing fine. It didn't look like a nice ride that he took there, but we hear he might be all right, so that's good news.
We're all hoping so. I see the addition of Mark Johnson behind you as well. That's also good news.
Yeah, it's all good news. We're coming to green here, so hopefully we'll have a good, smooth race.
I will send it back upstairs.
So it's actually not the first time that that PKV has led this season, because Catherine Legg led a dozen laps in Milwaukee, but certainly it's great to see Oriol Servia out in front. So here's Oriol now. We've got 11 laps officially in the books. He's led all 11, and we've yet to get, I think, a green flag lap of racing here. We've got 86 laps to go. It's a 97-lap race here in Cleveland, so a long, long way to go.
Good race.
So a special welcome to all our viewers joining us on Eurosport, the Fox Sports International Network, Speed Latin America, RDS in Canada, and Network 10 in Australia. I'm Jeremy Shaw, joined by James Hinchcliffe. Down in the pits, we've got Cameron Steele and Jon Beekes. We're here at the Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, and all sorts of action in the early stages. There is Mario Dominguez, he was the big loser there. When Catherine Legg spun coming out of that corner, he had to get right out of the throttle, but he did a great move down into turn 1 to retain his position there ahead of a couple of cars. All sorts of great action going on.
A lot of dicing for position back and forth. We see Catherine Legg, who's going to peel off into pit lane, potentially some under tray damage, maybe some wing damage, or just some flat spotted tires that she's got to take care of through a pit stop here. AJ Allmendinger, who had a little bit of an issue on the first lap of that restart, fell back quite a bit, is made up a little bit, up to 12th from 14th. He's moved up a little bit, and Paul Tracy's teammate up to 7th, as AJ was right behind Paul when that start first came out, but he's fallen back a little bit.
Legg into the pits, and the thumbs up coming from one of the team owners, Kevin Kalkoven here. He had a cut tire. We're trying to find out which tire it was, but she's going to be away with it. Off he goes.
So there is Kevin Kalkoven there, having a nod of approval as Catherine rejoins race. As you can see now on the black sidewall tyres. Once again, Bridgestone has brought 2 compounds here to Cleveland, and it's now the black, the slightly harder tyres that Catherine will go out on as a result of this very hairy spin in coming off the turn 10 chicane. You can see she was very wide coming off that corner, got onto the grass, and around it went. There's Mario Dominguez, had to take the evasive action, and right behind him was Nelson Philippe. I think it was Bruno Junqueira as well, and a big battle going on there. That is for around about 10th place now as a result of Catherine's spin. There's another angle of it. The Bell Micro car goes around and around coming off turn 10. She's been into the pits. Speaking to Tom Brown, the technical director of this organisation, he was saying if you want to make a pit stop, the leader on the racetrack has to be before turn 6 on his next lap in order for you not to lose a lap. But she didn't lose a lap, but she has done now, because she just wasn't quite far enough ahead on the pack to be able to make that pit stop and rejoin without losing a lot of ground. So bad news for Catherine to go 1 lap down in the very early stages of this race.
Yeah, she looked like she might have had not lost enough time there to really go a lap down. She made that pit stop, she was within the pit window, so they were trying to hopefully minimize the amount of damage that cut tire caused, but unfortunately now she has done a lap down, and that's going to make a very long afternoon for that race team.
She's shown in 13th place right now. Also 1 lap down is Charles Waltzman as a result of his spin at the restart, and Tony Kazovitz and Andrew Ranger also 1 lap down as well. You can see what happened to Tony. We did see Andrew Ranger spinning around though, so back at the front it is Oriol Servia, Justin Wilson less than a second behind, and a couple of laps ago with the fastest lap of the race had been set by Oriol Servia as they come across the line. This time though it's Will Power in 3rd place who sets a very quick lap, but also the fastest car on the track at the moment is Nelson Philippe. He's shown in 9th place right now. There is the second of the CTE cars driven by Dan Clark, who's running again a very strong 4th place right behind Will Power. So here are the leaders coming down to the turn 9 chicane one more time. There is Catherine Legg, she's a lap down. Will Power ducks to the inside, as does Dan Clark, and Catherine wisely gives those 2 guys room.
Yeah, that's a tough area to let people by, so it was a good job by Catherine to let those 2 leaders go through, let them continue their race. They're having a really good competition between the 2 of them for 3rd and 4th, and Alex Tagliani now in 5th, and remarkably, Jan Halen's still in 6th. Now, PT's up to 7th, so Jan Halen's going to be his next victim if he can. But Dan Clark, as you see right here, running a great race right now in 4th position.
Jan Helens, he's done an excellent job for Dale Coyne Racing this year. He's working very well with his race engineer, Adam Schachter, who's been around the sport a goodly amount of time, worked with some good teams, had some very good information. He and David Watson, who looks after the car of the other Dale Coyne car of this week, of course, with Mario Dominguez at the wheel. Both those guys really doing a nice job. It certainly is the smallest budgeted team in the paddock, but running now Halen in 6th, and Dominguez has actually fallen to 12th, but he's been running well despite the fact he's running a backup car this afternoon. Here though is that battle for 3rd place. We've got a great rookie contest going on this season. 1 week ago in Portland, Will Power led the rookie standings by 1 point over over Catherine Legg, with Dan just a handful of points back in 3rd place. But as a result there's Dan getting that car sideways coming off turn 1. As a result of a brilliant run by this man, Dan Clark, the Englishman, who finished in 6th place in Portland, having passed BT on the very last lap. A great move that was, and very exciting for Dan Clark. That moved him to the head of the rookie point standings coming into this weekend. Catherine still in 2nd place, just 1 point adrift, and Will Power is 4 points behind coming into this weekend. But a great contest going on, and these guys really running well now in 3rd and 4th place.
Yeah, Dan's doing a phenomenal job, as he did last week in Portland. He was running, as you remember, 2nd at the opening stint of that race before a flat spot cut down a tire. And we're going down to the pits for Keith Wiggins, CTE HVN team.
Well, I'm caught up with Keith Wiggins, owner of CTE Racing, for Dan Clark, and seems like you guys have had a bit of a breakthrough with the run last week at Cleveland. Have you seen some changes in your driver?
Well, I think, you've got to remember he was very inexperienced when he came in. 2 years ago he was doing Formula Ford, so it's a big step, and it's proving now that he's just done the fastest lap of the race, so it's just time. The guy was in the deep end, and he just needed time to get used to it, and I think he's showing his talent, as time goes by.
Definitely a lot of bright lights here at CTE Racing. Not only Dan Clark, but Nelson Philippe has been running well as well.
That is right, thanks Cameron. So the word there from Keith Wiggins, he was absolutely right. Dan Clark did set the fastest lap of the race just a couple of laps ago at a 59.073. Second fastest lap, Will Power 59.1. Oriol Servia done a 59.2. And then the 4th quickest lap so far by AJ Allmendinger, running down in 11th place. He's run a 59.3. The 2nd place car of Justin Wilson, the best he's done so far, is a 59.5, so that's kind of interesting. Paul Tracy, meanwhile, is up into 7th place, but struggling with big understeer on the 2nd of the Forsyth cars. There again is Dan Clark. We're on lap 22 now here in Cleveland. Dan Clark running in just a brilliant 4th place, and he's always high on adrenaline, but particularly this afternoon, having watched the World Cup soccer match a little bit earlier on, where England scraped through against Ecuador 1-0. He was certainly thrilled with that, as was I. Certainly good to see England progressing in the World Cup, now down to the to the final 8. So big news there for English soccer fans, and great to see Dan Clark just doing a brilliant job here. We've got 2 Englishmen in the top 4 positions here. Oriol Servia from Spain out in front of the motor race. Justin Wilson, the Brit, in 2nd place. Will Power from Australia, a brilliant 3rd. And there is Dan Clark really pushing hard in 4th place.
Yeah, 2 fastest men on the track right now are Will Power and Dan Clark running down there in the 3rd and 4th positions, having a great battle. I think both of them want to be the first rookie to reach the podium this year, as we see the Rocket Sports car being followed there by, I think, Nelson Philippe. It's Nicky Pastorelli running in the 8th and 9th spots. I know Nelson qualified 6th. Great qualifying effort from him, trying really hard. Oh no, that is contact. Nicky Pastorelli in one of the Forsyth cars. Paul Tracy.
Yeah, it is Paul Tracy. So Nicky Pastorelli there. PT's getting a little over-exuberant there as he tries to get going again, and things are just going from bad to worse for Paul Tracy this weekend. There is Nicky Pastorelli. It looked like a pretty bold move. Look, he's lost the left front wheel hanging off that car. That's the end of his day, and I think that is almost certainly going to bring out a full course caution for the 3rd time.
This wasn't a bold move. This was simply just missing your braking point, having nowhere to go, as the caution does come out now for Nicky's car off just on the outside of turn 1 there. I think he just really missed his braking point, looking in his mirrors, trying to keep Nelson behind him, and PT was an unfortunate victim in that one.
Yeah, absolutely nothing PT could do about that one. It's so wide at that point on the racetrack, and Nicky Pastorelli tried to sort of diamond the corner, make a shortcut to the apex, trying to get that car slowed down as much as he could, but he just ran out of racetrack there because PT's on it, and a very unfortunate, a real rookie mistake, I think, for Nicky Pastorelli. He doesn't have a lot of experience. He's done a couple of years of Formula Renault in Italy to start off his career about 5 years ago. Then he did a couple of seasons of the Euro F3000 Championship, which is not a patch on the old European, the old International F3000 or GP2, which has now been superseded by. So Nicky doesn't have a lot of experience coming in here. He did a little bit of test driving for the Jordan Formula 1 team, and I emphasised a little bit, but he's got himself a ride in the Champ Cars. He's done a pretty respectable job. He qualified a very fine 11th at Portland 1 week ago. He was doing a pretty respectable job this weekend, but clearly he was well out of order down in turn 1, and Paul Tracy it is that pays the consequences.
And this is a cool camera. This is on board Alex Tagliani from inside the side pod on the right-hand side of the car, looking at the suspension at work here. This will be a cool camera to see a little bit later in the race, as we are under caution here at Cleveland.
So here's the onboard with Charles Zaltzman. He is shown in 12th place and is now back on the lead lap because he did not make a pit stop under this caution. So as a result of that, he's able to cycle through and regain his position on the lead lap. We see there Cristiano Domata coming in, also Andrew Ranger coming in as well. I think Andrew is still 1 lap down in the one of the MyJack Conquest Racing cars, a teammate to Charles Zaltzman. So we'll see at the reset the order for you again. Bruno Junqueira out in front. You can see the crawler across the top of the screen. AJ Allmendinger in 2nd place. Mario Dominguez 3rd, of course, driving now for Dale Coyne Racing. Behind Dominguez is Paul Tracy.
Well, I've caught up with Paul Gentilozzi, the owner of Team Rocket Sports and the owner for Nicky Pastorelli in the number 8 car. What did he say happened? Have you had a chance to talk to him?
Yeah, I have, and it was obvious to him that Tracy's car was wounded because he couldn't settle in. The car was ill handling, so Nicky tried to go inside. Paul doesn't give up real estate very easily, unfortunately, and Nicky got the worst end.
Looks like he's driving with a renewed confidence here today.
Well, it's his 3rd or 4th race. The kid's a smart kid, and he does know how to drive. It's unfortunate today incidents like this took him out.
Definitely we'll have to wait for the next round and see how he can do there.
There's the Rocket Sports team owner, Paul Gentilozzi, standing up for his man, admirable, I suppose. And certainly, yes, PT was struggling with that car. He's been struggling with severe understeer as a result of his early incidents. But still, he came from miles behind in Pastorelli. I mean, he's about 10 car lengths behind in that braking area. And even if PT is wounded, he's not going to leave that much of a gap.
He wasn't missing any wheels, so he wasn't that wounded. That was definitely just an over.
Yes, just before we come to the restart, Neil, is this enough yellow now to help your pit strategy?
It certainly helps, yeah. We'd probably like to have just a little bit more to be able to do it in 2 stops.
Okay, we'll let you watch the green. Of course, what he's talking about, a bit more yellow, they can stretch it, and they might have one more stop.
Here we go, the green flag is out again, and I was told if they come in on lap 8, you need about 8 laps of yellow to be able to make it to the end of the race with just 3 pit stops. We haven't quite got that standard yet since they made those pit stops, but it's certainly very, very close. So we'll see how the strategy pays out. There's Mario Dominguez in 3rd place. Paul Tracy with that Catherine Legg there. She is 1 lap down, is Catherine. So PT moves himself to it. He's running in 4th place, and as I say, he is struggling with that car, but running quickly.
I can't believe still how Paul Tracy's in 4th place in this race after having been airborne, having been hit in corner 1, having made 2 pit stops at the beginning of this race, and he still finds himself in 4th. This car is acting like the man himself. It's an absolute tank this afternoon.
Yeah, that car is absolutely bulletproof, isn't it? Literally.
Yeah,
it's been hit from all sides.
I can't comprehend how not only is this car still circulating, it's still circulating in 4th place as AJ Allmendinger passes for the lead. Bruno Junqueira into the 910 chicane.
Great move by AJ Allmendinger. He got a great run off of turn 8 onto the fastest part of the racetrack, up to around about 180 miles an hour going into the 910 chicane, and a brilliant move down the inside. Here's a battle coming down now under braking. There is Justin Wilson and Dan Clark. Yeah, isn't it? So with Dan, the 2 Englishmen, they're battling now for 7th and 8th places. It's Wilson that takes over that position.
That was a brilliant move by AJ. That is not an easy place to pass, rather, as it's a 5th gear corner, 130 miles an hour through there, so it's not a lot of braking. But if you can get a really good run out of 8, which is a very tricky corner, which AJ clearly did, he was able to get that run. Might have used a little bit of power to pass. As we see the replay here, he pulls out, gets cleanly alongside, just leans on him a little bit, gives himself enough room to get through there cleanly without going off the track, as we've seen a few people already do this afternoon.
And again, another replay from a different angle, head on, looking from that 910 chicane, clearly alongside is AJ under the braking area. No way Bruno can turn in, he has to tuck in behind him. Textbook pass by AJ Allmendinger.
And a brilliant place to do it, because that would have held Bruno up quite a bit.
Wow.
As you can see how much he's gapped him as soon as he's got by. That is unbelievable pace out of this car. He was your pole sitter, had that unfortunate luck at the beginning of the race, but he's really showing why he was at the front of this grid to begin with.
He set the track record, of course, in qualifying. That was a great effort by him. That was a 56.283, and last time around, the fastest lap of the race so far, 58.892 for AJ Allmendinger. He's into the lead, and look at the gap he's pulling out.
Absolutely brilliant. That was a storming lap from AJ. A 58.8 is unbelievably quick. The second fastest lap of 59.0, still from Will Power, currently in 6th. The highest running rookie. Next rookie in line is Dan Clark, who's in 9th. Remember, these two were battling for 3rd and 4th just before these pit stops, so things have not played out so well for them with those cars who pitted early, able to cycle back through to the front of the field.
Times are really quick this weekend. The race lap record was set by Paul Tracy back in 02 when they were running big boost engines, of course, a lot more horsepower when Toyota and Honda were still in this series of 58.473. Last year's fastest lap set by Oriol Servia at 58.6, and already on lap 29 AJ goes around at 58.583 this time, even quicker now, so he goes faster again. Stunning stuff, but the temperatures this weekend so much cooler than normal here in Cleveland this time of year. It's often very hot, very sticky, very humid. Now perfect conditions and very quick.
Yeah, Cleveland's usually it's probably the second hottest race of the year, next to usually Monterey, Mexico. And like you say, very uncharacteristic weather here in Cleveland, making for good lap times, good racing, and hopefully a good finish here at the Burke Lakefront Circuit.
On board again, the CDW car of Justin Wilson, lap 30 on the Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland. And Justin is now shown in 6th place. Ahead of him there is Oriol Servia, the early leader. And interesting, after that round of pit stops, Oriol got out ahead of the guys that came in. Let's go on the pit lane.
Are you as well surprised?
Yeah, I mean, it's a car we don't use very often, and we got it ready. The guys did a good job, and he's up to 3rd now, so it's been a mess. So there's a bit of strategy going on, but he's doing a good job.
What about the personality of Mario? It seems like he has a little bit to prove here today.
I think we all have a little bit to prove, so hopefully it goes good. It's not a car that he's used to, and it's probably not as good a car as he had before, but he's doing a really good job in it.
He certainly is, overcoming adversity and running 3rd.
That was Dale Coyne there with the camera still on the pit lane, and Dale talking about the backup car that Mario Dominguez is using. It's a 2000 chassis, B2K02 is that chassis, and believe it or not, even though that car was built in the year 2000. It's only ever done 5 races, so it's far and away the newest chassis in the field. Having said that, the tub has been replaced a couple of times. It was initially used it's always been used by Coyne's team, but it was retired after 2 races only in 2001, and it was used very briefly by Cristiano Romano at Milwaukee this year after he crashed the other car. This was built up hastily as a car for Cristiano to use in the race in Milwaukee, but as it turned out subsequently, they put that car together in such a big rush. They put some of the wrong suspension components on that car, and it really wasn't race worthy, so they pulled it out of that race, and then they reverted to another chassis for the race in Portland 1 week ago when Mario Dominguez made his debut for the Dale Point Racing team. And then that was a car that Mario crashed heavily yesterday morning, and prior to that crash, Mario was up in the top 10 in times. He was thrilled with the way the car was working. His race engineer David Watson said Mario just turned the fastest time that any of my drivers have ever done on this racetrack. So he was absolutely thrilled with it, and then he had that huge crash in turn 8. So it's now again back to this backup car, but Andy Green and the boys have been working all night again to get that car ready for this afternoon, and they seem to have done a fabulous job, and Mario is reciprocating.
And as we look on board with Justin Wilson, Mario is right behind him, but Justin is not pulling away. They're running very comparable lap times. Mario even a 10th quicker than Justin on that last lap, but more importantly, AJ Allmendinger has done a 58.1. He's been going a little bit quicker, about a 10th a lap each lap, and a 58.1 easily is the track record for the race at this track. He is on an absolutely blistering pace. This is the same kind of performance that we saw from AJ just 1 week ago in Portland when he was in front and gapped himself a 10-second lead at one stage of the race. So he's doing a phenomenal job setting records and really turning some heads here.
Great onboard shots here. Let's talk us around a little bit, James, with onboard with Justin Wilson.
Well, Justin just gone through turn 8, one of the slickest corners of the track. It's downhill, a little bit off camber, tough, and of course it's really the only wall that you can hit. So if you get it wrong there, you don't have grass to run through the 910 chicane here. Very bumpy. You use the curves on the right-hander. There's a tire on the inside of the left you really cannot touch. Bolt it down there. Don't want to hit it. Hard on the brakes all the way from 7th to 2nd gear. Roll through this corner. Get on the power. All about getting a good run down this long straight, kind of curving to the right, although it's a bit of a straight. As you head into the 3-4 complex, it's all about rolling speed in, really bumpy on this transitional surface change there. The road crowns on the exit, so it's really important to not understeer or have a snap oversteer when the back end comes around. Same thing here, you come over the undulation in the road. It's sometimes tough to keep the car around you. As we head into turn 7 now, the bumpiest part of the racetrack, just watch, you can see the camera, his hands just jarring back through turn 8. All you can see all the different surface changes and everything makes that one of the trickiest corners on the track. So a good clean lap from Justin. He's running good lap times in the 59.7 range, so doing a very good job right now.
But AJ, meanwhile, is just stomping away at the front of the field. 58.030 last time around, smashing the lap record. And just talk a little bit about these lap records. The pole position record, the qualifying lap record, was set by Jimmy Vasser way back in 1998 when they were running sticky tires as well as about 950 horsepower engines. Nowadays, the Ford Cosworth XAVs have about 750 horsepower, and Bridgestone brings a relatively conservative tyre here. Yes, it's a red sidewall tyre, so a little bit stickier than the black sidewall tyres, but still stunning laps from AJ, and the rest of the field being left by at least a second a lap. There is AJ Allmendinger, and he's just amazing job he's doing this afternoon, and indeed he has all weekend. He's been quick from the word go. Paul Tracy's been off the road, over the top, being hit. They've been everywhere, all around it. But interesting, PT certainly been very competitive this weekend, maybe trying a little bit too hard on several occasions. But let's talk a little bit, James, about the difference in the track in Portland and here in Cleveland. As we said earlier on, PT he never liked Portland. It's a track where it really hurts the right foot breakers and seems to be of a benefit to the left foot breakers. This track not so. Why?
You say right foot breakers plural, but I'm pretty sure that Paul is the only guy left in open wheel racing pretty much anywhere still uses his right foot at this level. But the track at Portland is it's a very smooth surface, high grip, long duration, high speed corner. So like you say, it requires that very fine balance of the pedals and balance of the car on the driver's behalf. This track on the other, very bumpy, fast corners, but a different kind of beast altogether, better for Paul's style.
There is AJ negotiates turn one more time, 57.8 that time around for AJ. Merely 57.8, just amazing. He's romping away. The second and third place guys are in the 59. So again, about 1.5 seconds that AJ added to his lead last time around. Let's look at the graphics here. The fastest race lap record was set in 2002. Paul Tracy, 58.4. 2005, last year's fastest lap by Oriol Servia, first of his career, driving then, of course, for Newman Haas Racing. And now in the early stages of this race, we've seen AJ down there at 57.653. Just amazing turn of pace from AJ Allmendinger.
It's unbelievable. It makes you think what, as we see a spin here, I think Tony's Casamit's Flexibit car. He looked as though he moved forward, but he might have stalled it.
Yeah, he's raised the visor on his helmet. That generally means he's dead stick, doesn't it?
And
that's a sign to the safety team.
Coming out of the first corner, got on the power maybe a little bit too aggressively, back end steps out, and that's where he ends up. So it's unfortunate. It looks like he kept the engine running, and then he went to drop the clutch and stalled it. This probably will bring out a yellow, and yes, we do. We see a yellow flag.
And this is not good news for AJ Allmendinger, because the pits are now closed under full course caution, and we're getting fairly close to the time that AJ is going to have to make his next pit stop. So this is an absolute disaster. He pulled out that massive lead, and he was hoping to take advantage of that to come onto pit lane, but he's not been able to because of this caution. Now all the cars will pack up behind the pace car one more time, and then we'll go back to green. Well, the pits will then be open, but if AJ comes in, then he's going to lose all that ground, all that advantage that he had gained. So an absolute disaster, this caution for AJ Allmendinger.
A 15-second gap, all for naught with this yellow coming out. Really, really unfortunate for AJ. Like you say, this was not what he was hoping for. He was doing such a phenomenal job to get that car around the track as quick as he was doing. It just makes you think what this guy might have been capable of doing in the last few years if he had the kind of chemistry with Roossport that he is showing right now with Forsyth. The teams gelled so well together in just their first two events. Obviously, AJ had a lot of success with Roossport in Atlantic back in 2003 when he swept the championship and the Rookie of the Year in the same year. You know, this is the kind of success that he's seeing now with Forsyth and the kind of pace that he's showing. So it's amazing that, given his performance today, he only won his first race last weekend. He looks like he's an absolute seasoned pro at this point.
Yeah, you're right. AJ had 8 podium finishes for Roossport in his 31 starts for that team. Here's a replay there of Tony's Casamit's, the left-hand side of the screen. Just gets on the power a little bit too hard coming off turn 1, and around it goes. He's not quite able to get the clutch in quick enough. The engine stalls. Oh, I guess he got it restarted from there, and then he stalled it. That's a shame. He'd done the difficult bit.
Yeah, he really had. He kept it running when he was going around, but
he flicks up his visor, and that is a signal to the safety, the corner workers, that he needs assistance out on the racetrack. So he will get a tow start, and here this again, they talk about that lead being erased. Here is the Forsyth team getting ready for a pit stop. But I think we're going to see some cars coming in and some not. He made his last pit stop on lap 8, so it was very, very close to the time at which AJ was about to come in. Another lap or two, I'm sure he would have been on a pit lane in any case, and it would have been so much nicer for him to make that pit stop with that huge lead that he built up. Now, though, he's going to have to work really hard to do it all again.
Earlier, I just want to make a correction on my own part. When we were on board with Justin Wilson, I said Mario was right behind him. He was not, of course. Justin down in 6th, Mario in 3rd. As we see everybody so far diving into the pits, we see one of the Team Australia cars staying out, but this is somewhat good news for AJ that everyone else decided to pit under the same caution.
Jon Beek is in AJ's pit.
Dominguez in the pits taking another set of red tires. Dale Coyne said he'll take the blacks later. You can see they're putting just a little bit in the front wing. He said everything else is perfect. Let's go to Jon Beek.
And we see the Forsyth boys as well as Justin Wilson all pitting at the same time. We're also keeping an eye behind for Bruno Junqueira. The guys who stopped early like Dominguez are already on their way here, and they're almost going to be very tight. Justin Wilson is the first one out. Wow, it's close. Paul Tracy. Wow, Paul Tracy lost a lot of time. That's as close as it gets, folks, on the exit of pit road.
Yeah, that was tight. There was Cameron Steele in the pit of Mario Dominguez there. We see Andy Green and the boys making a stop with the car number 10. And certainly great news for AJ that everybody came onto pit lane that time. I wasn't sure whether they were going to or not. Most of the leaders had last stopped on lap 34, so they'd only done 14 laps under green flag conditions, but that's almost a half a fuel stint. So yeah, that's why they would have come onto pit lane as well. But of course, AJ would have needed a lot more fuel than the other guys. The top four that came in, that was who was that? That was AJ, Mario, and whoever the other two were. Bruno, right? They needed a lot more fuel to take on board than the other guys. Let's have a replay of some of these that pit stop action. Certainly great footage there from Steve Moore, that helmet cam on Paul Tracy. Great stuff on the pit lane. Those pit stops are very exciting, and the fans right there. Here again, this is the vantage point of Steve Moore. He changes the outside tire. You see black tires to black tires there for AJ Allmendinger.
Paul stopping right on his mark there. Absolutely precision perfect, waiting for the fuel, steam waiting, go, go, go. AJ just got through. Great round of pit stops, really mixed up the order. Let's see what happens when we go green here in Cleveland.
So, under caution, yet again, I've lost count on number cautions. I guess it's 3 or 4. Yeah, it's 4, I think, this afternoon. The green flag is out one more time, though, and the order once again has been shuffled. A couple of guys did not come onto pit lane. Those would be Alex Tagliani and Nelson Philippe. They hold the first 2 positions. Justin Wilson now is in 3rd place. Andrew Ranger 3rd on the road, but 1 lap down. Catherine Legg also 1 lap down. So it's Tagliani, Philippe, Wilson, Allmendinger in 4th place. Junqueira, Will Power, Oriol Serbia, Paul Tracy, Mario Dominguez in 9th, and Dan Clark rounding out the top 10. Charles Waltzman, Jan Halen are the last cars on the lead lap. The top dozen cars then still on the lead lap.
Good clean start from Alex now. He's running a pretty good pace. He's got Nelson right behind him. Justin, you know, kind of essentially in the lead of this race. Of the guys that pitted, he came out in front. A really, really good stop from Roosboy. I feel like they may have short fielded him to try and get that track position. He came in when he was in 6th position. And so a great stop from them to put him out up to 3rd now. Of course, Alex and Nelson, who are 1 and 2, did not pit. As we look back from Alex Tagliani to Nelson Philippe, getting very close, locking up the brakes there, going into the first corner. And like you say, Andrew Ranger a lap down right behind Nelson there.
Nelson's done just a stellar job over the last few races. He really he matured so much, I think, as a result of a brilliant run to 4th place in Houston, where he had to hold off Justin Wilson in the closing stages of that motor race. A real confidence booster that was. And then, of course, a brilliant run to 3rd place, his first podium finish at Milwaukee. A good run last week. He was in the top 10 as well in Portland. And Nelson Philippe, again, you know, just that big boost of confidence is so good, isn't it?
It really, really helps. It does the world for a driver's abilities and to focus the entire course of a race. He did an absolutely brilliant job in Milwaukee to race that car to 3rd. Potentially had the car to win. When you talk to him, he says, I woulda, coulda, shoulda won that race. If I could do it all over, things would have been different. So immense confidence from such a young driver, only 19 years old, but in his 3rd year in the series. As we see one of the Forsyth cars in the wall, it looks like Paul Tracy. I think I see a red number 3 on the nose cone of that car. Yes, it is indeed Paul Tracy. Is put in the wall in corner right. Like I was saying, that's a slippery corner and the only wall to hit. And not the first time this weekend, certainly not the first time in his career that Paul has found this wall. Absolutely disappointing, considering everything that him and that car have been through so far this race. As we watch the replay here, just gets loose.
He understeered in the middle of the corner, and then it sort of snapped around, and maybe he's trying to gas it to try and get it, you know, induce some oversteer and bring it back under control. But you run out of room really quickly down there in turn 8, don't you?
You absolutely do, because you're coming through that corner at something like 110 miles an hour. So, you know, he would have just turned in, like you say, understeered. So as he turned in, the front wheels didn't point the front of the car. They just kind of pushed forwards, and then that usually leads to a snap. Oversteer is what they call it, when all of a sudden the front wheels gain grip and your hands are turned, so they grip and it snaps the back end around from behind you. That's what it's done, and Paul just clipped the wall with the left rear.
So underscoring the world in the Champ Car World Series, today's race being broadcast over 170 countries around the world. We're thrilled that you could join us. I'm Jeremy Shaw with James Hinchcliffe here in the booth, and we're on lap 45.
Essentially, because when those guys pitted, no one's going to make it in less stops. It's just going to be when you make them.
Quick snap there from Jon Beekes. Everybody's, we believe, going to make the same amount of pit stops to get to the end of this race. It will be certainly at least one more pit stop to go this afternoon. And as Jon says, a question of when they're going to make them. The leaders right now, Alex Tagliani and Nelson Philippe, their last pit stop was on lap 24. So I fancy they're going to have to make certainly 2 more stops this afternoon to get to the end of this race. Justin Wilson, AJ Allmendinger 3rd and 4th, and then the other guys behind, they all came in on lap 39. So from 39 to 97 is how many laps is that? 58.
58, yeah.
Yeah, you can just about do that on one pit stop. So I think the 2 leaders, Tagliani and Philippe, are going to have to make, by my rough calculations, 1 more stop than everybody else. And of the everybody else, it's Justin Wilson, as you said, had a brilliant stop last time around in the pit lane. Did he take on a little bit less fuel than some of the other guys? Well, we won't know for sure until later on when he makes his next visit to the pit lane. But certainly Justin Wilson 3rd and looking very, very good for a result this afternoon by my rough calculations. AJ in 4th, Bruno Junqueira up into 5th place ahead of Will Power. Oriol Servia, he's been the big loser over the last couple of rounds of pit stops. He was leading the race, of course, in the early stages. The other guys are on the same strategy. He's effectively now 4th behind AJ, Bruno, Will Power and Oriol Servia, and then 7th overall. So, and Justin Wilson, of course, as well. Mario Dominguez running in 8th ahead of Dan Clark, Jan Halen, Charles Waltzman and Andrew Ranger. The last of the cars on the lead lap. Catherine Legg is, I believe, 1 lap down in 13th. And Paul Tracy is out of the race. I think they've got, did they get Tony's Kazimitz's car going again? I believe they did. Cristiano Damada 2 is back in the fray, albeit many, many laps down, 20 laps back, we believe.
Yeah, it looked as though Damada came in and had some sort of problem on that last restart. He was going very, very slowly and fell to the back of the grid. So as you say, he's 20 laps down now. So definitely some sort of problems to cap off a disastrous weekend for the Rousport team. And here's a replay from the start. Paul Tracy being sandwiched between the 2 Newman Haas cars as he goes up and over, completely over the top of Sebastian Bourdais. You could kind of see Sebastian's roll hoop take a little bit of a beating there. Some parts of it were chipping off. Maybe that's what could have contributed to possible injuries to Sebastian, who has been obviously removed from the car and taken to hospital for precautionary measures. We hope Sebastian as well, as we look at PT here in the wrecker. As you say, Jeremy, not the first time this weekend, but it will be his last for this visit to Cleveland. He'll look forward to his essentially his home race in Toronto in 2 weeks' time to try and make a rebound and get his first win on the season.
So we've got the Team Australia car as Paul Tracy's car comes somewhat ignominiously back to the pit lane on the back of a wrecker once again. Team Australia out in front of a champ car race for the first time this season. Alex Tagliani leads from Nelson Philippe.
And you see the car on the hook, and Neil McBride, I know you've seen those replays. What happened to Paul?
We don't know 100%. Obviously, he hit the wall over in turn 8 with the left rear first. We suspect that it's probably a failure on the car as a result of the earlier accident. Quite honestly, the fact that the car was still out there running competitive laps is a bit of an amazement to all of us, considering it was so far up in the air and there's quite a bit of damage. But you know, Paul was doing a fantastic job. We could see on the data that the car was really not very good, and he was turning in very competitive time. So it's unfortunate, but thankfully nobody's hurt.
What about AJ?
AJ, obviously, he's running pretty well right now. His car seems to be working pretty well. Some things are going to have to shake out in the final pit stop when it comes around, but hopefully he's got enough speed to get up there and challenge Wilson and ultimately take the win.
Looks like we should have a good finish. Thank you, Neil.
So getting ready to go back to green here in Cleveland. We've completed 46 laps. We're looking there at AJ Allmendinger, the only Forsyth car in the race, with Paul Tracy still making his way back to the pit lane on foot. Got out of the safety truck, who's making it back on foot. A bit of solitude for PT this afternoon after as we were discussing, a very disappointing weekend. He's been outclassed. It's going to be tough for PT to get his head back on track now. It's two really difficult weekends for him, James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, 2 really difficult weekends for him and 2 really great weekends for his teammate, his new teammate, AJ Allmendinger. So it's going to be interesting for PT how he bounces back. As we look back from Alex Tagliani, your current leader of the race, as they head down the back straight to get the green flag this time by.
And we hear that Team Australia, Derek Walker, the strategist there, trying to keep to their planned strategy. They're planning to come in on lap 57. The green is not out, actually. I think something wrong there with the field. We believe that Tag just jumped a little bit too soon, but Derek Walker, he really is a master strategist, and he is committed to his call that Tag will come in next on lap 57. If he comes on lap 57, that'll leave him how many laps to the end? 38 laps to the end of the race, won't it, to get to lap 40 laps to get to 57, so he'll need one more stop as well. Here's Rob Walker.
I'm here with Rob Edwards, the general manager of Aussie Vineyards Racing, and the alternate strategy, or the strategy you guys chose early, you're sticking with it, aren't you? You didn't come in for you're not going to come in on the next yellow?
Yeah, we really didn't need this yellow. When we committed to the strategy we're on, we really needed to stay green all the way till we were going to stop. We didn't get that, but now we're committed to it. If we stop now, we're just going to shuffle ourselves to the back of the pack. So we're committed to it. We'll make the best of what we've got.
We'll see how it goes. Down to Jan Beekes.
With Carl Russo, we heard just from Neil Mickelride, he thinks this is going to come down to another AJ-Justin battle. What do you think?
I think that's another Roosport one, too. Great decision, huh? AJ's doing a great job. Justin's doing a great job. I think they both got good race cars, so I think that's what it's going to come down to. By the way, I hope things are well with Sebastian. We didn't think anybody had takeoff clearance rights on this runway when we were running the race, but a pretty bad-looking accident, so hopefully he's okay.
The good news is he is fine, Carl. He has a good humor in the hospital. He's called on the cell phone. Everything's good, and we're going to green. Thank you, Carl.
So that's certainly great news there that Sebastian's been on the phone. He says he's okay from the hospital, so that's fabulous news. And interesting comment there from Carl Russo, which like we made the right decision, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's
2 extra.
Whoa!
1, 2.
Jan Halen.
The car spinning. Jan Halen, it looks like he maybe has some rear lockup there, and it looks like he's got that car stalled, which will, you guessed it, bring out yet another yellow flag. The visor goes up. That's a signal to the safety crew that he has lost power in that car, and a small mistake on cold tires has led to another yellow flag in this race. Very unfortunate for him and for the whole series, essentially.
Yeah, really, yet another caution this afternoon. I've run out. I don't know how many yellows we've had. It's at least 5. But Jan was doing a super job for the Moormans group there, the Berghoff car for Dale Coyne Racing. He was running in the top 10, and he's had just a strong weekend all around. The safety car team is already there. They're going to get him bump started, and it's extremely good news for Halen that they're on the spot right away, able to get him bump started, and he, I believe, will be able to run around and catch up the back of the pack and not lose a lap. So a major stroke of good fortune for Jan Halen. Is it a full course jump? It's not a full course caution. I beg your pardon. Boy, that was really quick work there by the safety team. They get out there under green flag conditions. My apologies, we didn't go full course yellow. And there is Andrew Ranger there getting passed by AJ Allmendinger. That is not for position. Andrew is still 1 lap down, but AJ is running in 3rd place.
AJ has got ahead of Justin Wilson, who I believe was in 3rd position. So AJ's made a pass and is now 3rd in line behind Alex Tagliani and Nelson Philippe.
And there goes Junqueira as well past Justin Wilson. So Justin all of a sudden has lost a couple of positions. That's very strange.
That was a remarkable little turn of events. A full course caution that wasn't a full course caution. They got him going. The pace car never came out. And now we see AJ Allmendinger moving up ahead of Justin Wilson, as did Bruno Junqueira. So maybe Justin got the wrong memo and thought that it was a full course caution and backed off, or potentially problems on that car.
I believe there might be some sort of a problem with Justin. Let's get down to the pit lane with Jan Beekes in the Roosport pit.
Well, you talked about the person who wasn't flying, Justin Wilson. Just checked with Roosport, and what they're saying is they feel he just lost momentum, just couldn't get up to speed on the restart. But I'm wondering, Justin Wilson all weekend hasn't liked the red sidewall Bridgestones. This is the one stint they're going to run them. He doesn't just seem comfortable to me.
So there's the word from Jan Beekes. Justin not comfortable with his red sidewall tyres and softer tyres, and we've seen that several times in the past. Drivers they just don't feel comfortable on these softer tyres, which are theoretically faster. And certainly in qualifying on Friday, we saw what 4 drivers, I think, used it on Friday. One of the CTE cars, I believe it was. Also, Jan Halen ran them, and the 2 Forsyth cars. And I was watching in turn 8, and the cars have massive grip through those corners. But both drivers, AJ Allmendinger and Paul Tracy, both of whom, incidentally, on Friday were beaten on time by Sebastian Bourdais on the black tyres. But the cars have massive grip, but they're very inconsistent to drive, James.
Yeah, if Justin doesn't like them, he's not the first driver that I've heard that from this weekend in particular. Like you say, the red sidewall tires are supposed to be a little bit faster, give a little bit more grip. They're a softer compound, but they fall off easier, and on a circuit where the surface changes have a huge effect on the grip level of the track itself, a slightly less abrasive and less grippy tire will actually give you a more consistent run throughout the corners. If you've got a stickier tire, softer rubber, when you change from a surface that has high grip to a surface that has lower grip, the effect on the car and the handling of the car is going to be greater. So the black sidewall tires, being a little bit harder, are offering a more consistent feeling throughout the entire car over the course of a lap. So Justin's struggling a little bit right now at this point in the race with those red tires. He'll probably be hoping and asking the team for blacks next time he comes in, as he tries to chase down Bruno Junqueira right now, as he's in 4th, Justin in 5th. Will Power right now still the top running rookie in 6th place.
Yeah, so it's still tag at the front there, but really under pressure from Nelson Philippe. On board there again with Justin Wilson. We're watching him going around here, and we're trying to see what tyres the other guys are on as well. He's certainly not carrying anything like the speed he was earlier on through that turn 5 and 6 complex there, coming through 7 and 8 here at the extreme eastern end of this racetrack. And he's tracking in the wheel tracks of Bruno Junqueira, who I think is on the black sidewall tyres, isn't he? Ahead of Junqueira is Andrew Ranger, but still won that down in 12th place. But Justin now, he's pulled away a little bit at least from Will Power in 6th, and Oriol Servia right behind him. And then Mario Dominguez and Dan Clark and Charles battling for 8th and 9th. Charles Waltzman rounding out the top 10. Here comes Bruno into turn 1, and this great onboard shot. Look at the push rod there working on Alex Tagliani's car from the bottom of the upright on the wheel into the top of the chassis there, and that activates the spring dampers which are laid longitudinally on the top of the front of the car there, James.
And you can see how very little movement there was, just showing how stiff these cars have to run. These race cars run so low to the ground, the spring rates have to be so stiff to make sure that they don't ground out. So considering the size of the bumps that Alex is driving over right now, just a few millimeters of movement you see, huge in the race car, but on an overall effect, I guess a relative side of things, very small movement. Oh, it could have been cool if we had stayed on for the chicane there, but interesting to note is that I was just going to say Nelson Philippe seems to have caught Alex Tagliani, and he's on it. He's looking for a way by. He wants to lead this motor race.
Yeah, I think we're going to. Well, there's a mistake.
And then it goes wide.
Yeah, he does. He pressured into a mistake by Nelson. You can see the red flashing light on the rear end of Philippe's car. He got on the Cosworth Power to pass. Tagliani, I don't think did actually, but he's still able to get a better run at the corner. Smokes him under braking for turn 3 and 4.
Nelson.
Great racing.
Nelson thinks about it. Really quick reaction for him coming out of 1 when he saw that mistake from Tag to get on his Cosworth Power to pass, and he goes, he makes it side by side heading into turn 6. He has got it. Nelson Philippe inherits he earns and he takes the lead of this motor race. Alex Tagliani now demoted to 2nd as they head through corner 8 onto the back straight.
That's the sort of racing that makes this great, such a great racetrack, wheel to wheel through the chicanes there. Well, chicanes left right sweeps, the right left sweeps, and it's just great racetrack for intense action there. Across the line goes Nelson Philippe to lead for the first time in his Champ Car career. What a great day this could be for the Philippe family, because of course Nelson's younger brother Richard is on your team, a teammate of yours in the Forsyth Champ Car Atlantic team. He finished 2nd this afternoon, and here's Nelson now in the lead.
Yeah, now Richard with his first podium this afternoon in the Atlantic race. Great drive from him. He held off strong competition all race long. Wasn't quite able to catch his brother. As we look at the replay of big brother Nelson Philippe passing Alex Tagliani to take the lead for the first time in his Champ Car career.
There Nelson Philippe is in the lead of this motor race, and on board here with our erstwhile race leader Alex Tagliani. Nelson Philippe is ahead of him, and I said a moment ago that Nelson's out in front for the first time in his career. Again, I have to correct myself because he did lead 23 laps in Monterey 1 year ago, but now it's time for those all-important pit stops. The first two both onto pit lane. Philippe leads them onto pit lane, Alex Tagliani right behind. They'll need a full tank of fuel, and I fancy they'll still need an extra stop before the end of this motor race, but crucial time for these two guys.
And they're not looking to make any changes, and most specifically, he goes with the black sidewall tires. Tagliani is underway, but easily, Nelson Philippe easily beats out Alex Tagliani. That was a great stop by the CTE crew.
Thanks, John Beaker. So it's Darrell Fox and the boys on at car number 4 for Nelson Philippe. Look at that brilliant stop there to get him out well ahead of Alex Tagliani. It's Greg Ramsey who leads that crew on pit lane. He changes the outside front tyre of car number 15. But it's just Neil Brown, who is the crew chief on that car number 15. It's in the Australia entry, but these days Neil prefers not to go over the wall. He leaves that to the younger guys. But then it was definitely Nelson Philippe's boys, and the Kiwi Darrell Fox, who gets his boy well underway before tag. And you can see now the advantage that Philippe has over Alex Tagliani after those pit stops when they came in just a couple of car lengths apart.
Come in nose to tail, and they, like you say, they leave with a massive gap. So great job from the CTHVM team to get Nelson out in such quick time. Now we'll have to see how yellow flags and pit stops play out for the rest of the field, see if these two can maybe have their strategy fall into their hands and find themselves back up at the front of this race.
I think at some stage they're going to need a full course caution to aid their cause at this stage in the game, because by my reckoning, AJ Allmendinger, who's now back in the lead of the race, and the other guys on the same strategy, which are all except for Tagliani and Philippe, are going to be able to make it. Well, I think now from here on in, I believe everybody is going to have to make one more pit stop. We saw AJ and the rest of these guys last in on lap 39. I reckon they can go 27 laps or so before they make another pit stop. That's assuming no yellow, so that'll take them to 60 odd, and from there to the end, maybe they can stretch it to the end. It's going to be tight, that's for sure, but it's going to be very, very interesting in the latter stages of this motor race. But there is AJ Allmendinger back in the lead of the race. He has also set the fastest lap so far, 57.653, the second fastest lap of the race. Nelson Philippe with a 58.2, so an advantage for AJ, 6/10 of a second over the next quickest guy this afternoon, James.
He's absolutely blistering, and you know, when he was running in third and fourth there, when he was behind Justin earlier, he was running a much slower pace, just staying consistent. I think trying to conserve a little bit of fuel. Maybe the Forsyth team on the radio saying, "Look, AJ, you know, you're in traffic. We know that the two guys in front of you, being Alex and Nelson, had to pit, so telling him to stay with them, but conserve fuel, because now that he's out in front, they've let him loose, and he's running lap times right now a second quicker than Bruno Junqueira in second place."
Yeah, 58.2 last time around for AJ Allmendinger. Bruno Junqueira 59.3, and looking at the fastest lap by each driver, we're looking at the battle there for second and third, with Junqueira in second place, Justin Wilson wanting second place. There he is right behind the CDW car. Their respective fastest laps so far, AJ a 57.6, Bruno's best so far a 59.1, and Justin Wilson the same, ranked 9th and 10th overall on the fastest laps of the guys out in this race this afternoon.
Yeah, but you know, it's not just fastest laps that you need to podium in these Champ Car races. You need to be consistent throughout the entire course of the race, so
and not make any mistakes.
And not make any mistakes. You know, obviously Cristiano Romano has the third fastest lap right now, but he is essentially out with it says he's still active, but he's 20 laps down, so he did have problems. So he can be quick over lap, but without having a consistent race, and like you say, mistake-free race, that doesn't mean all that much. So Bruno and Justin still doing a very good job in the second and third position, and Will Power still holding on now in fourth place, still the highest rookie, but not by much, because Dan Clark is in sixth with Oriol Servia in between them in fifth.
There's a battle. There is Oriol and Dan Clark. There is that battle for 5th and 6th places, and Dan Clark closes right up under braking in turn 1. But again, look, very smooth there. Oriol Servia turns in nicely, gets on the power early, and you can see the advantage he's gained by doing that, coming out of that corner. Just nothing dramatic, just fast, smooth, and consistent. That's Oriol's way. That's what he was able to do for Newman Haas Racing last year. He joined that team after the first couple of races last year with Dale Coyne. He was I think he was 11th in points, or maybe 10th in points when he joined Newman House Racing for his first race with them at Milwaukee. By the end of the season, he got himself up to second place in the overall championship standings of Oriel Serbia. He got his first win, of course, in Montreal, and he was looking so good in the early stages this afternoon, picking up from where this team off left over here 1 year ago with Cristiano D'Amata driving the PKV car last year, led the early stages, didn't get to the end because he tangled with a slower car, but now it's Oriel who's been strong all weekend. As I said earlier on, he had a dismal time in Portland, rode off 2 cars, but this weekend he's been quick, he's very consistent. I'm really happy with the way that car is handling.
Like you say, rebounding from a really bad weekend in Portland. Dan Clark really laying the pressure on, but Serbia, he's a really cool, calm guy. He's tough to get worked up and tough to force him to a mistake. So Oriel's going to run his own pace. As we watch Dan Clark here really try and lay the pressure down on him. He wants that 5th place. He wants to go out for Will Power because they have their own separate rookie championship battle to worry about. And Dan was leading that. Actually, he's currently leading that by 1 point after an impressive run in Portland. He wants to maintain that lead, but if they finish as is, will take it over.
Here's again a replay of that incident on turn 1. You can see all sorts of people off the road. There goes Paul Tracy's car vaulting over the top and literally running over Sebastian Bourdais. The good news is that Bourdais is apparently uninjured, but it was a very, very scary moment for everybody. And it was amazing that PT was able to continue after being pincered there. You can see that Bruno Junqueira really doesn't leave those two a lot of room, and Paul Tracy also, he doesn't have any patience whatsoever. He sticks his nose in between those two cars, does not lift, and that was a very, very dramatic first corner. There's Alex Tagliani running over the nose of the spinning Andrew Ranger, and there is Andrew's off again apparently. He's spun again, he's brought out yet another full course caution, and again, dreadful news for AJ Allmendinger. He'd just been told by his race engineer Michael Cannon, no fuel concerns, just go for it. Okay AJ, time to make hay, said Michael Cannon over the radio. AJ said okay, and he then drove away. He got his gap up again to about 9 seconds, and once again that advantage has been completely nullified by yet another full course caution.
I was just going to say that if all had stayed green, AJ looked in control of this race, but that is not what's happened, and we'll see how the last pit stops play out and if AJ can hold on for 2 in a row.
So we'll reset the order one more time. I was talking to the race director, Tony Cotman, before the start race. He thought it was going to be a really clean race with very few pit stops. Here's Justin Wilson trying to figure out whether or not he should come on the pit lane.
Here's the interesting thing. What happened here is as soon as AJ was inside those cones, he absolutely accelerated and took off to gap. Justin Wilson maintained pace car speed and then realized, you know, that AJ had taken off. So once you're inside those cones, you're allowed to go. AJ made that huge gap, and then it was no problem. The Force A team could take as long as they wanted to get that stop done with the advantage AJ gave them coming in. Really smart move by the young AJ Allmendinger.
Yeah, very heads up. As long as you get down to the 50-mile-an-hour speed limit when at the beginning of the first occupied pit, then you're okay. That's what AJ apparently did. The yellows come out. That's a shame. Bruno was trying to get a jump on the field there. So let's set the field for you now after that round of pit stops. We've got Bruno Junqueira in the lead, followed by Dan Clark. That's the first time Bruno's been out front this season, isn't it? So he's leading a motor race finally for the first time after a very character-building year for Bruno. So he's been completely outpaced by Sebastian Bourdais. Last week in Portland, a much better run for Bruno. He started from the pole, got snookered at the start and fell back to 4th, but still that was by far his best result of the season.
Here's the deal. We might be able to make it to the end, but we're not sure.
We might be able to make it to the end, we're not sure. I couldn't quite hear who that was, to be perfectly honest. Did you hear who that was, James?
Yeah, it kind of sounded like Jay, who's the head mechanic on AJ's car, affectionately known as Elvis.
Yeah,
affectionately known as Elvis at the shop. There was massive sideburns, but I'm not 100% sure. Usually it'd be Mike Cannon who was on the radio to AJ, so potentially it was Mike Cannon, his race engineer, who was speaking to him.
Didn't sound like Michael, did it? But certainly, so it's Bruno Junqueira, Dan Clark, Nelson Philippe in 3rd, Charles Walsman suddenly found himself in 4th place, Alex Tagliani, Mario Dominguez, AJ Allmendinger down in 7th, then Servia, Wilson, Power and Hayden back on the lead lap as a result of this caution. We're going to get the green this time around. Yes, there flies the green flag, and a good restart once again by Bruno Junqueira, but Dan Clark is hot on his heels in one of the HVM, CTE HVM cars. There is Will Power making a move down the back of the field, trying to get past Charles Waltzman.
You see AJ here trying to work on traffic. Like you say, he's up on the back of Swolsman. He dives down the inside there. Justin tries to go with him. Justin cannot afford to lose touch with AJ at this point of the race. He really needs to stay with him. They need to work together through not work together through traffic, but Justin really needs to stay with AJ through traffic so that he does not lose touch, and AJ cannot build up any kind of a gap, because the kind of pace that AJ's got, Justin really needs to stay in his draft and try and stay close enough so that if AJ does make a mistake, which he has not since he's joined this Forsythe team in the 2 races he's done. In practice he had a few offs, but he's been picture perfect so far in the races, so we'll see if Justin can hang on to it.
Tempting fate, isn't it? But there is AJ, sweeps through that turn 9-10 chicane one more time. This is lap 67 completed there by the race leader Bruno Junqueira, and down into turn 1 again. The laps car there of Andrew Ranger getting out of the way as it was tagged down to the inside, and also AJ Omni and Justin Wilson goes through there in 6th place, and we've got 30 laps to go now, and guys who are just on pit lane marginal, they can reach the end of this race without making one more pit stop. It's possible if there is some caution. If there isn't, I think they're going to struggle. So there's a heck of a lot to be played out this afternoon here in Cleveland. 67 laps down. Junqueira, Clark, Philippe, Tagliani, Allmendinger, Wilson, Dominguez. Great job for Delcoin Racing. Charles Schwartzman, Serbia, Will Power, Jan Halen back up to 11th, and Catherine Lake, she's still that 1 lap down.
Yeah.
Interesting. A whole bunch of other guys have managed to make up their lap. She has not. There goes Nelson Philippe again, getting past the laps car of Andrew Ranger, and Nelson charging hard in 3rd place.
And Nelson's old teammate Andrew Ranger, they used to be teammates at the MyJack Conquest team. As AJ kind of gets held up there by Ranger, the Walker car able to get through there. That must be Tagliani. But you gotta be impressed by Mario Dominguez. He's in 7th place right now at the Delcoin car. He missed qualifying after that really big shunt in practice on Saturday morning. And I don't care who you are for that team, as hard as those guys work, Mario is definitely proving his worth today in the number 19 car.
There is Alex Tagliani, 14 Australia, Derek Walker's team running in 4th place right now behind Nelson Philippe. We saw there's 2 running in a transposed order earlier in this race, but Nelson Philippe made the pass just before a round of pit stops and able to maintain that advantage over Alex Tagliani. But certainly Alex Tagliani looking to win the first race for Derek Walker in an awful long time. Actually 121 races since Derek Walker last was in Victory Lane. That was in Portland in 1999. Well, guess who's off the road?
It's not Charles Wolfman.
You're right. It's the other MyJack car. But
he's had his fair share today as well. So it looks as though he's got it in the safe area. That is in turn 8. This is the turn 8 wall that we saw Paul Tracy hit a little bit earlier. He spun coming out of 7, got into the grass, he pushed wide into the grass, and ended up on this safety road here. You're going to see him coming out here from the right. There you go. He's through the grass. He ended... and Paul did this earlier in the weekend as well. He stopped in that exact same spot on that access road, so he's well out of the way. Here you go. Come through turn 7, over these bumps, front and... Oh, there was a suspension failure there.
Yes, look at that left front wheel just flopping around there. So as he turned into the corner, it's not the place you want that to. Mind you, better at turn 7 than turn 8, though.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. There's no wall at 7. He was able to get a clean run through the grass there, if you will. But very, very interesting to have a suspension failure through that. That is the bumpiest part of the circuit, and we know that Charles has been off already this afternoon, so maybe that had was contributing to that. But either way, still very uncharacteristic of these cars to have suspension failures so without apparent contact right away.
And yesterday morning we saw Mario Dominguez, the nose fell off his car. I think he'd made some contact perhaps with a cone earlier in the lap that perhaps dislodged it, but coming through turn 8 it was for Mario, and a heavy impact with the wall. Luckily enough for Charles, the suspension failure there was coming out of 7, so at least there's a massive amount of grass to run off and nothing concrete to hit, at least at that point. So he was able to get out without any further damage to to that Marjack Conquest Racing car, and certainly Eric Bashar, the team owner, will breathe a sigh of relief on that one.
We look ahead to the two leaders of the race right now. It's Bruno Junqueira and rookie Dan Clark running with the CTHVM team. They're out in front, but it looks like they will have to pit in the very near future.
Yeah, very near future. Next lap or two, we believe that they are going to be on pit lane, and they're both going as fast as they've been at any time previously in this motor race. 58.4 for Bruno, 58.3 seconds a lap for Dan Clark. They pulled away about a half a second over Nelson Philippe running in third place. So we've got two CTE Racing with HVM cars. Cedric the Entertainer joining with Keith Wiggins, and they're just having a stellar weekend here in Cleveland. The last few races, these guys have been really quick. Keith Wiggins, a new look to this team this year with Cedric the Entertainer coming on board. The battleship grey colours, or gunmetal, Keith Wiggins prefers to call it. And here they are on pit lane, the two leaders. Bruno Junqueira leads Nelson Philippe onto pit lane.
Dan Clark.
This will be their final stops, right on schedule for these two.
Leads Dan Clark into pit lane as Nelson Philippe now re-inherits the lead of this motor race. Nelson Philippe now leading from Alex Tagliani and AJ Allmendinger.
Bruno there, an interesting line onto pit lane, not sticking to the outside line, they're sticking to the inside route. Here we go, the crews go to work. There's Timmy Coffin there, vast experience on the outside front of the Newman House car. And here for Dan Clark, the Lewis Pericarpi there, and what a great stop by CTE Racing. Wow.
That was a phenomenal stop. He got out miles ahead of Bruno Junqueira. I'm not quite sure why the fuel hose was on for so long on Junkie's car. Maybe they had a problem getting it on, and so it had to stay on longer. Maybe Dan had more fuel on board when he pitted. I'm not sure. Either way, a phenomenal stop from the CTE HVM team to get Dan Clark out in front by a considerable margin over Bruno Junqueira.
So Nelson Philippe is leading the motor races. Dan Clark there has made that pit stop. Here is Nelson now, and last lap around a 58.9 second lap for Nelson. His best lap of the race so far was a 58 flat, but even then he pulled away by a half a second over Alex Tagliani. So the gap from first to second is 2.8 seconds last time around. AJ Allmendinger in third place, and last time around not making any inroads into these two's lead.
No, it really isn't. He's one of the drivers who really has to think about fuel conservation. If it stays green, he's going to be very close with 24 laps to go on his fuel level. So we know that AJ is capable of times in the 57s, never mind the 59. So he's running around, his team probably, again, telling him to stay in touch with the leaders, but don't push too hard. So I'm not sure if Nelson has enough fuel to make it to the end.
No, he doesn't.
He will definitely have to stop again, having stopped last on lap 56.
Yeah, so he will definitely have to stop. We hear with about 15 or 16 laps to go that Nelson Philippe will have to come onto pit lane. And I reckon there's an outside chance that Allmendinger, Wilson, Servia, Dominguez and Power might be able to reach the finish. And perhaps that's why AJ is only running in the 59-second bracket now rather than the 57s he was running earlier on, trying to save fuel to stretch it to the end. It's going to be touch and go. But behind Will Power, Dan Clark is running in 8th place ahead of Bruno Junqueira. Those two for sure can get to the end of the race, but still some strategy to be played out in Cleveland. A wild ride for Will Power, the Team Australia car. They're way up in the air. Bronco ride through the grass, and he gives up a top 10 position. He comes onto pit lane. They'll go to work on that car, but it'll certainly drop him well down the order, probably outside the top 10. And in the meantime, his teammate Alex Tagliani runs in 2nd place. So here the boys are going to go to work. They're going to change that nose. They can probably do that in about 20 seconds or so. It's a well-practiced maneuver, and this Walker Racing team, Team Australia, they practice these things all the time. They really are amongst the very best on pit lane. But of course, if there's any other damage there, if it's tweaked anything else, then that becomes a problem, and it might make it more difficult to get that nose on and off. But here we are back to the front. That is Nelson Philippe closing up on the almost lapped car of Jan Halen. Jan leaves room to the inside. Through goes Nelson Philippe. Smart heads up driving by Jan Halen there. The young Belgian running in 9th place. A very good effort for the Delcoin Racing team. as Nelson Philippe. He's pulling away at the front. He's down into the 57, so 57.953 on the previous lap, lap 76. And we're now on lap 78. He's turning a very, oh dear, he slowed down there.
Slowing.
Is he out of fuel?
Oh, please don't tell me that he's out of fuel. He's been on such a good run, as we see. Well,
no,
he is definitely. He knows it.
God.
He knows it. It looks like he is out of fuel, and he is not close enough to roll to pit lane. He is not even close. Oh, that as he pulls off track.
What a heartbreak for Nelson Philippe. A brilliant drive this afternoon by the whole CTE racing team. They are there. They're waiting for him on pit lane. Sorry, boys and girls, actually, he's not going to be there.
One lap too many. That's all it took. Absolute. And a full course yellows come out now.
When I say boys and girls, a test Brelia changes.
Oh, Justin Wilson in the wall. Sorry, Jeremy.
Justin Wilson has thrown away a top 4 finish.
Oh, that's brutal. Justin coming in here 30 points behind Sebastian. A good finish with Sebastian out of the race would have really closed up the championship fight here. Oh, we need to see a replay of that. And here we go, on board
Coming
with Justin.
to turn 3 and turn 4.
Another suspension failure.
The right front suspension just failed, didn't it?
Let go, Justin. He lets go of the wheel there. A relatively soft contact, but another uncharacteristic suspension failure from this car in the CDW Rousport machine. Carl Russo there looks on, obviously not very pleased with what's just happened. You have to think this has either come from contact on the first lap that we maybe didn't see with Justin, or from the curves, some of the curbs and the bumps here at Cleveland. Obviously very tough on the machines, but still, normally these cars can make this race crashing these curbs, and there are other races where you use much more curbing. So two very uncharacteristic suspension failures have taken 2 drivers out of this race.
Poor Nelson apparently out of fuel out on the racetrack. We thought he wasn't due in for another lap or 2, but we did see the guys on pit lane, so clearly that wasn't the case. He was presumably expected in that lap around, and just a total disaster for Justin Wilson and the Rousport team with Sebastian Bourdais out on the very first lap. Justin just needed a good finish to get himself right up onto the tail of Sebastian in the battle for the Champ Car Series title, and he was looking at worst a top 4 finish, and now the best he's going to do is a 14th or 15th place finish, for which he'll pick up 6 or 7 points. So just total disaster for Justin. But is this going to play in the hands of Dan Clark, because he and Bruno Juncker have also already made their final pit stops of the day. The pits, I believe, are still
if you stop at
closed.
64, there's those 3. The ones.
It's done.
But it's fascinating now, because AJ Allmendinger, Alex Tagliani last made a pit stop on lap 56. I don't see any way he could get to the end of this race. AJ Allmendinger and Oriol Servia both stopped on lap 64. They might be able to get it, and we hear from the CTE Racing pit that the telemetry shows there should be fuel on board his car, but for whatever it is, he's ground to a halt. And there was Justin beginning the walk back to the pits after his suspension failed, going through between turns 3 and 4, and just threw him in the wall. Nothing Justin could do about that. He was off at that same corner, ironically, 1 year ago, when he tangled with Mario Dominguez. It was a very eventful weekend it was 1 year ago for Justin. This weekend, relatively trouble-free, until that incident there. So that was a disaster. I think we're hearing that Tagliani for sure will be onto pit lane this time around. We believe that's to be true. We'll wait and see whether Allmendinger comes onto pit lane as well. So we're just waiting with bated breath here to see who will come onto pit lane and who will not. Dan Clark and Bruno Juncker for sure will not. Ahead of him, though, on the road, Tagliani, Allmendinger, Servia and Dominguez. Are they going to come onto pit lane? We'll know in a second or 2. No, AJ is not.
Tag
for sure.
and Servia both dive in there.
Yeah.
Tag on it. Another car in there. Looks like maybe one of the Rocket Sports cars.
I think Dominguez stayed out as well, so he'd be running now in 2nd or 3rd place, but there is Tagliani on pit lane.
So this is exactly what AJ Allmendinger needed, as well as Mario Dominguez and Dan Clark. They needed this.
Dan Clark didn't need a call. Well,
that's right. Dan
it helps his strategy, because it means that everybody else had to pack up behind the pace car and then would lose that ground. He's now able to pass them when he come onto pit lane. But certainly Dan could make it to the end, as could Bruno. But it's great stuff, isn't it? It's fabulous, fascinating motor race.
We're staring at a brilliant podium right now. Things were to finish as is. AJ Allmendinger leading the race with Mario Dominguez in the Dale Coyne Racing car, having not qualified fight, starting from the last row of the grid. He's up in second place. Rookie Dan Clark in third, on course for his first podium.
There's so many aspects to this story, though, because, I mean, AJ Allmendinger 2 races ago was driving for Rooseport. Mario Dominguez driving for Forsyth. Now, that Forsyth car vacated by Mario Dominguez as a result of getting the axe from Jerry Forsyth. That car number 7 now driven by AJ, and it is that car number 7 out at the lead of the race. Now, how's Mario going to feel there, staring at the back of the car that he was just loving driving?
We talked to Jeremy Dale, the president of Rooseport. You could clearly see something broke in the front. What do you think it is?
Not quite sure, Jan. I mean, as you know, this racetrack is incredibly demanding physically on both the driver and the car. It did look like a right front suspension failure, but until the car gets back here, until all the guys can take a look at it, we won't know for sure. But it is very disappointing. We thought we had a strategy to win this race. He was doing good, solid lap times, good fuel numbers. We thought we could win it.
Thank you, Jeremy.
So that was John Pegas with Jeremy Dale, the president of Rooseport team. And again, brilliant news now officially from race control that Sebastian Bourdais has been released from the hospital with a clean bill of health. So that is fantastic news after that very scary incident. Hello, hello, hello.
What is that? This reminds me of a flashback to Houston between Mario Dominguez and Sebastian Bourdais, who under caution started weaving back and forth in a very threatening manner to one another. I have no idea what was going on there. Children, please.
I think it must have been.
It was Dan Clark. Another look here. Dan Clark, Mario Dominguez, Mario involved again. And what is that Will? Yeah, that's Will Power, I believe.
Yeah, Nelson's trying to make a point about something, but
it's Dan Clark, I believe, actually.
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's very strange, isn't it? Huh?
I wish we could hear some of those car-to-pit radios to see what exactly is going on in these people's minds. That is just unneeded behavior.
Will's 1 lap down right now, shown in 8th place. So let's set the order for you again. It's Allmendinger in the lead, trying to stretch his fuel. He last pitted on lap 64. Mario Dominguez last pitted on lap 62. So both of those two are going to be on a kind of a fuel-saving strategy towards the end of this motor race. Dan Clark, who has plenty of fuel, is in 3rd place. And then Junqueira, Hayden, Servia and Tagliani in 7th place. Then the Cameron Steele in the CTE pit.
They did get him refired after giving him fuel, and now with Keith Wiggins, what's happening right now with Speedy Dan Clark?
Well, he's in good shape. We had a good stop and everything else. We're a bit tight on fuel, so we're just, hopefully we'll get to the end in good shape.
What happened to Philippe? Do you guys know what happened? Were you talking about it at all?
Well, I was listening to them on the other stand, and we're not sure. We were. It shows that we should have been okay for fuel, but it was marginal, and so I think the jury's out until we've had another closer look.
We'll have a look and see, but they definitely took quite some time to get that car restarted once fuel was put in.
There is the Nelson Philippe coming onto pit lane, and curious that Wiggy then said that Dan Clark should be tight on fuel. He made his last pit stop on lap 72, which should be leaving plenty of fuel to get to the end, particularly with this full course caution. So that's very strange, except for the fact, all I can think of is the fact it was a very, very fast pit stop. He got out well ahead of Bruno Junqueira, who stopped on the same lap. Maybe they didn't get enough fuel in that car. So that's all I can think of. There would be any reason for any fuel concerns for Dan Clark. But there were certainly fuel concerns for this guy, Nelson Philippe, and just a great shame for him. He's shown 2 laps down now in 10th place when there was a potential victory on the cards here for Nelson. Now it's up to Dan Clark. See if Speedy Dan, Dangerous Dan, Desperate Dan can get the job done this afternoon. He's driven brilliantly these last few races. He's got himself into the lead of the rookie standings prior to this weekend, and now here he is running in 3rd place.
And Jan Halen, another rookie, in 5th. So that's both Dale Coyne cars in the top 5. Who'd have thought they'd ever see that, huh?
Well, it's great stuff. I love to see it. I mean, Dale Coyne Racing, that team, they've had 462 starts in total, 280 separate races that Dale has completed either as a driver or as a team owner, dating back to 1984. He's had precisely 2 podium finishes during that spell. Roberto Moreno finished 3rd at the US 500 in 1996, and Oriol Servia had a third place finish at Laguna in 04, and now can he get another podium this afternoon in what would have been a storybook ride, having written off a car yesterday, Mario Dominguez, now running in second place. But there is the green flag, 15 laps to go, and AJ takes off like a scalded cat at the front of the field.
He's doing what he's learned now how to do, and that's how to win races. You got to be quick on the first laps, on restarts. You got to play it smart. Mario hanging with him though, but Dan has been consistently quicker than Mario Dominguez throughout the course of this race. So it's really, the ball's now really in Dan's court to attack. He needs to attack. He needs to get onto his Cosworth power to pass. He needs to close the gap, and he needs to seal the deal. He knows that Mario and AJ are close on fuel. Dan is not. Dan is good to go. He can run full bore, full throttle the whole way. He knows the two in front of him have to conserve a little, so push them and try and get those passes made.
But good to see some smart thinking there by Dan Clark. He didn't push it on that restart. He was cautious. You know, he doesn't have a lot of experience in high horsepower cars. He was riding a Formula 3 car last year, which was, what, 240 horsepower or so. He didn't push it there at the restart. He's got to get those tires up to proper working temperature and then go for it. That's what he's done. He's right on Mario's tail, though, coming out of turn 10, and I'm sure he'll be looking to maybe make a pass down into turn 1. We saw a bunch of guys using their Cosworth power to pass down the bank straight away after that green flag period. But again, it's not quite close enough there, but they're down the inside. That is Oriol Serbia making a move on Jan Halen for 5th place.
Now we see Mario's going to have to go into defensive mode here. He only has 2 seconds left of his Cosworth power to pass, where Dan Clark has 31, a little over half of his allotted time still in that car with only 13 laps to go. That's a lot of power to pass for Dan to use. He's got to use it smart, though. It goes away quickly. Trust me, when your foot's on that throttle, it goes down a lot quicker than you'd like it to. So Mario only has 2 seconds to use in defense. That's not very much. If Dan gets a run, he should be able to get past him.
He has only 2 seconds worth, but as soon as you put your foot on, put your finger on that button, the Cosworth power pass will go until you lift off. So even if you've only got 2 seconds left, you can use it for the length of the straightaway. It doesn't cut off after 2 seconds. So he has one more usage on a long straightaway here, and we'll see how he uses it as in the closing stages of this motor. Jan Halen has just used up his push to pass in that battle with Oriol Serbia and Alex
Well, Dale Coyne, we're watching right now the battle between Mario and Dan Clark, and you guys have enough fuel to make it all the way.
As long as it's a timed race, like they said it was going to be for you guys, so we're doing a nice job for everybody. We'll make it. So it's going to be close, really close.
He told me just moments ago that they were really skating the edge there with fuel, and he's crossing his fingers for a timed race.
Whoops, there's another spinner. There's that Will Power once again, I believe, and Will's had an eventful afternoon.
Keep it going, keep it going. Yep. Let's make a race out of this one. Come on, thank you, Will.
And there's Dale Coyne was talking there about it being a timed race. We believe it's 1 hour 55 minutes, so we've only got 4 minutes left in this race. We're showing 12 laps to go, but I believe it was a 1 hour 55 minute window, so the time certainly is ticking away. And Dale Coyne, he really is a master strategist. He doesn't have the biggest budget. In fact, he has by far the smallest budget in this field, but he does think about his racing, and he really uses tactics to their utmost. And we're on board here with Alex Tagliani. He's battling with Jan Halen for 6th and 7th place, and a bit of oversteer there coming off turn 1 for Alex.
Yeah, and you know, he's doing a good job, like you say there, and he's in 7th place right now. Teammate Will Power down in 9th. But looking forward back to this battle here with Mario Dominguez and Dan Clark. Now, Mario is incredibly good into and out of corner 1, but Dan seems to get really good runs off of corner 8. So Dan's best bet is to try and stay close coming out of 8 through that 9-10 chicane. Get on the Cosworth power pass right here. This is coming out of corner 8 right now, and you see Dan gets really close. He's got a good run. It's very hard to make a pass into the 9-10 chicane, so stay close to him. Coming out of the chicane, get on that power to pass and try and make it into the heavy braking zone into 1. Another place you can do it is out of 1 into corner 3, but Mario seems to be getting such good launches out of that hairpin in the first corner. That's going to be tough to do. So Dan still has 31 seconds left, and if this goes to a timed race, he only has about 2 or 3, maybe 4 laps left. So he really needs to start pushing, start getting aggressive, and try and move up to 2nd place.
So the time is ticking away here, but it's still AJ out in front and setting a nice conservative pace right now, 59.7 seconds the last lap, to 2 seconds slower than his fastest lap of the race, which will earn him another bonus point this afternoon. He's looking great for win number 2 in start number 2 for the Indec Lola. Ford Cosworth Bridgestone presents the tires, of course, for full-size championship racing. And here is this battle for second place. It's Mario Dominguez, the Sonny's barbecue car for Dale Coyne Racing. Great stuff to see those guys. They worked all night again last night to prepare this backup car. It's a year 2000 chassis originally, although it's got much newer bits on it, of course. But he and his race engineer, David Watson, they've put a great car underneath Mario, and he is doing a super job. Dale has played out the strategy, it appears, absolutely perfectly. And he's able to hold off Dan Clark there, but right behind him is Bruno Junqueira in fourth place. He can't seem to do much about these two. Last time around, let's look at the relative lap times of these top cars. 59.2 seconds for AJ, 59.4 for Mario Dominguez, 59.1 for Dan Clark, 59.5 for both Bruno Junqueira and Oriol Servia in fourth and fifth, and also Jan Halen in sixth and Alex Tagliani in seventh. So they're very, very closely matched, these guys. And it's going to be hard to see perhaps any changes of position in the closing laps of this race. This is lap 89 now. It's scheduled as a 97 lap race. We haven't yet heard official word from race control as to whether or not it will be a timed race. So we'll bring that as soon as we get the official word from race control. A good run there that Dan had.
Hit it, Dan. Hit it, Dan. Go to power to pass. He needs to use it. He's got 31 seconds, and he has not used it once since this restart. He's getting potentially really good runs out of 9 and 10 as we're going to try and go down to Jan Vickers in the pits.
And the man who hoped he was going to be chasing Allmendinger is Justin Wilson. It looked like something broke on the front of the car.
Yeah, something started to go amiss earlier on, about 5-6 laps before that. My wheel was getting more and more misaligned, and it felt different from corner to corner, so it finally broke something on the steering. It's disappointing because we're getting the mileage that we could have got to the end. And even when that happened, it killed my mileage, but I still managed to step the mileage back up and get to the target, so we were good for the end.
All right, sorry to make it to the finish. Thank you.
So there was Justin Wilson, and you could hear the disappointment certainly in his voice. He knew how important it was. And here's a replay of what happened to Justin. He goes through turn 3 here, turns into turn 4, and boom there. The right front wheel, something in either the upright or whatever failed on the car, and he just understeers into the wall, and the end of Justin Wilson's day, looking at the worst of the top 4 finish, and there he is with his team owner, Carl Russo. And nothing going right for those boys, but it is going right for this guy, the former driver of the teammate to Justin Wilson. AJ Allmendinger still out in front of this race, and there, still in second place, is Mario Dominguez, and Mario's just turned his best lap of the race at 59.073. He's getting on the job, isn't he? And Dan Clark not quite able to do anything about it. Right behind those two are Bruno Junqueira and Oriol Servia. Servia has just used a lot of push of Cosworth power to pass the last couple of laps, but he hasn't been able to make a pass.
We got now, it has been official, it is a time race, 3 minutes 49 now left in this race. We've just gotten word that Nelson Philippe, car 4, will be given a black flag for voidable contact. Now, I'm not quite sure in which situation this is referring to. I mean, this could be going all the way back to the start where he and Alex Tagliani had a little wheel rubbing that pushed Alex right off the track in the first corner. So here comes Nelson diving into the pits to serve his black flag. It just is going from bad to worse for Nelson Philippe this afternoon.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any difference for Nelson Philippe because he's on a lap by himself at the moment. Here's the incident. Apparently, he was under yellow, and we can see there he's swiping wheels with willpower, and goodness knows what that's all about.
I could have sworn that was Dan Clark when we first watched that happening on track, Jeremy. But
I've forgotten there's been so much going on in this race, James. I can't remember, but he's on a lap on his own, is Nelson. He's in 10th place. That's the good news. I don't think he will lose that because he's shown a lap clear of Andrew Ranger, but still, it's just kind of adding insult to injury for poor old Nelson Philippe. And here is the battle. We've got 91 laps in the books, about to complete lap 92. There goes AJ Allmendinger into turn 9. There goes Mario Dominguez with dangerous Dan Clark right on his tail, but not quite close enough to make a pass. You look at their Cosworth power to pass. 27 seconds left for the race leader. Just 2 seconds worth for Mario Dominguez. He's holding off from using it, I'm sure, until the last lap. And 22 seconds left for Dan Clark in third place.
AJ Allmendinger now, he has just driven beautifully. He's done what he had to do. The second after this restart, the last inch of this race, he ran a consistent pace. He controlled the race, got the fuel mileage he needed, and we're going down to his engineer now in the pits with
Michael Cannon. Michael, I know you're coaching AJ on the radio about fuel. Can you make it?
Yeah, absolutely. Even if it was 97 laps, we're going all the way. We're good. It's pretty much a done deal.
Is long as it stays together, right?
Indeed, there's always that. I think we all remember Al Jr. at Elkhart one year, don't we?
All right, we wish you well. Thank you.
There's Michael Cannon. Of course, he engineered Patrick Carpentier to a great win here back in 2002 for the Jerry Forsyth. Assume he's looking to do the same now for AJ Allmendinger. Across the line they go one more time. I think there'll be white flag next time around by my calculations. It's going to be a 2-hour race, not a 1 hour 55. And again, slightly quicker again for Mario Dominguez. He's not giving up in that battle for second place. So there is a battle, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Dominguez, Clark, Junqueira, and Serbia, second, third, fourth, and fifth. AJ got a lead of about 1.7 seconds. It's not a huge lead, but it's relatively comfortable.
Well, you can tell, look, Mario drops a little bit of a wheel there. Dan fouled him, no harm, no foul. But AJ's just done such a phenomenal job. I cannot explain this enough. He ran the pace he needed to, got the mileage he needed to, and you can tell that because now his team has said, you're good, you're clear, run what you're comfortable doing, and his lap times have fallen almost a second. He was running consistent mid-59s, 59.6s, 7s. Now he's 58.8, so he's really put the hammer down. He knows he's got the car, he knows he's got the fuel, and he is going for 2 for 2. You think they're going to pick up his contract?
Well, I think they might well do. There is the white flag, so just one more lap to go here in Burton. Down to the inside goes Dan Clark. Right. Wheel to wheel into the corner. He gets the move, but now let's see what happens coming off the corner. No! Don't take him out. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, Destructive Dan lives up to the name. Poor Mario Dominguez. He is the big loser in that. I think potential. Oh, no.
That is a tragedy for Dale Coyne Racing. There is Dale. He can't believe it. It was a great move down the inside, but for some reason, Dan tried to pinch him coming off the corner. All you've got to do is get on the power, get a clean run off the corner, and you've got it made going up to turn 3. And you stalled the engine as well. What a disaster.
Unbelievable.
And, God, this is tragic, quite frankly. Look at the frustration from Dan Clark. I'm sure with himself there, but I was just about to talk about his teammate because Nelson just had the fastest lap of the race. But just here we are into the final corner. This is AJ Allmendinger. 2 drives he has had, 2 weekends for Jerry Forsyth, and 2 wins. Can you believe it?
I don't know what to touch on. The fact that AJ just won the race or what we just witnessed in corner 1, that was unbelievable. It was a good, clean move by Dan, but like you say, he pinched it a little bit on the exit, and Mario was going to try and high-low him, going to try and get onto his one last push of power to pass to get him back into the third corner, and then this disaster struck. But we look at AJ now, the fireworks erupting, the donuts are starting. He's 2 for 2. He's getting good. Look at that. Slow, steady. He's burning the rubber off those Bridgestones.
Goodness me, what a fabulous job. His donuts, we were remarking last week on the quality of his donuts. There's Mario Dominguez. He is out of the race. He's not going to, I don't think he's going to see the finish line, but he is going to be classified, I believe, perhaps in 6th place, but he deserved so much more than that. Here it is, a replay. Down to the inside dives Dan Clark. Fair enough, no problem there. He's got the position on Mario. Mario that gets waits back a little bit, gets a great run off the corner. There, Dan Clark just tries to pinch it. A crazy move. I mean, this guy's been racing. Yes, he was only doing Formula 4 2 years ago, but he's been racing an awful long time. And you've got to be smart about it. I mean, made the pass, and even if you lose it again on the exit, if the other guy gets a better exit to him, you're going to go wheel to wheel in turn 3. He just got on the power a little bit too soon. Actually, is what happened.
He got on it too soon, and like you say, he tried to pinch it. If he had tracked out, that car would not have stepped out the way it did, and unfortunately it just collected Mario. He got along the inside. He knew that Mario was going to slow the car down earlier, turn it sharper, and try what we call high-low, and that's when you go from the outside and cut across the back of the car to the inside. Mario had 1 push of his power to pass left. He was probably going to get on that and try and get Dan back into the inside, but Dan had lots of power to pass to use as well, and like you say, he tried to pinch Mario. If he had just tracked out and let those 2 cars race the way they should have, that incident would not have happened, and both of those guys would have been on the podium. Really unfortunate for Mario Dominguez. My heart goes out to Mario.
To the entire Dale Coyne Racing team.
Absolutely.
So here's the unofficial results from an incredibly eventful day here in Cleveland. Far too eventful in many ways, but a brilliant performance again by AJ Allmendinger. Bruno Junqueira, the first podium position since he was very badly injured in Indianapolis 1 year ago. Oriol Servia, he comes through to take the 3rd place for PKV Racing. Tagliani, 4th for Team Australia. Jan Halen and Mario Dominguez, 5th and 6th for Dale Coyne Racing, but it could have been so much more for them. Dan Clark is still showing his in 7th, ahead of Catherine Legg, Will Power and Nelson Philippe. But you know, Dan Clark, he's already on probation from the chief steward. Andrew Ranger in 11th, Kazimitz, Wilson out of the race. D'Amata, he was running very quickly at the end there, and the other guys all out of the race in the early stages. So there we are down.
You want to go there?
No, you always come down facing this way.
I know, but you can shoot across the car.
Yeah, but I don't want to see the back of his head right away.
I think Dan Clark's got some explaining to do. He's already on probation with the race director, Tony Cotman, as a result of a whole bunch of incidents he had in the first 4 races of the season. And that, to me, was a bonehead move, quite frankly. It was not a smart move by him at all. It's such a shame. He's driven brilliantly. He doesn't have the experience. And you can't throw caution to wind in that sort of position when you're battling for the first ever podium. Second or third, really, Dan, what does it matter? But he made his point this afternoon. The boy is fast. He just needs to make sure he can finish races as well.